ask first. You're all set?
Yes, we're good.
Okay, so we'll start with the roll call, please.
Council President Suzanne Souter.
Here.
Councilperson Joseph Day.
Here.
Councilperson Andrew Zelt.
Here.
Councilperson Nerman Zubaka.
Here.
Councilperson Brian Mataway.
Here.
Also present, City Administrator Antonina Tantillo, City Financial Officer Courtney Taylor, and City Solicitor Michael Hoffman.
So the first item is the contract, Ms. Tantillo.
Yes, so thank you. We have worked over the past 2 months to renegotiate the ASME contract with the labor union. And before you have a resolution to approve that, should you so wish to. And this contract period would be from July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2031.
And it's pretty much all the changes we discussed in executive session as part of the negotiations.
Correct.
So I guess I should read the resolution. Resolution 2026-30, a resolution approving the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Newcastle and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local 3615, for the period of July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2031. Whereas the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local 3615, represents certain employees of the City of Newcastle for the purposes of collective bargaining with the City of Newcastle. And whereas the prior collective bargaining agreement between the parties expires on June 30th, 2026. And whereas the parties engaged in good faith bargaining to reach a successful agreement, and now therefore be it resolved that the City of Newcastle hereby approves the collective bargaining agreement negotiated by and between the city and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local 3615, for the period of July 1, 2026 to June 30, 2031, and be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect July 1st, 2026. So is there?
I'll make a motion or.
Can I just make a comment?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Everyone?
Sure.
I just wanted to commend council and also, city administrator and then like the party on the other side for thinking about long-term contract. I think we made a change, so just so public is also, aware that we have switched from 3-year contract to 5-year. I think that makes a lot more predictability in the budget and stability, hopefully for employees as well. So, I'll skip the importance of public works, but I think we all can recognize that, but I just wanted to point that out as something that made me happy.
Good point, thank you. Any other comments, discussion?
But I can second, unless somebody else already second.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-30.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the resolution is adopted.
Thank you.
That's great.
That was.
So now the budget, I think we have an updated copy and.
Yeah,
you
now that
some
we
more
have
information.
approved, we have added, we've added, the,
Oh, I see, this is the old one.
This is-
Yeah,
that's the old one, so now we have to add the, AFSCME number,
Oh, I see.
and I have a presentation for you too, I have the AFSCME number.
oh yeah, you sent that out like a couple hours ago.
Yes.
They will take a quick look at it, but really absorb it. Is that more than one?
I sent.
Here's, I'll get it to
I
you.
thought it was 2 of them, but yeah.
Okay.
Do you have this, Jeff?
No, I don't have one.
The new one should say council at the top.
Council number 2, I got it.
Yes.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
I think count the public copy in.
Correct.
Just put it over here.
I'm sorry about that.
And I do agree with Nerm. Thank you for everything you do with the
Yeah.
contract and getting it cleared up and.
Thank
Oh, yeah,
you.
appreciate
For
it.
your hard work. You have council.
Yes, yes.
Council.
I already have one.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right, everyone has 2 new papers.
Yes.
Right.
yes.
You need.
No.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Dana, are you gonna start going through the budget? Can I ask a question that I've
Sure.
noticed, so I'm not going back line to line, in case there's a broader explanation. So I've noticed on page one, two spots where the budgeted amount is changed. So for
Mhm.
salaries for public safety, it lists 1.428, and then in a prior May meeting, I'm seeing that line at 1.438, so 10,000 less. So I'm just curious if that, the budget amount.
Sorry, which one are you talking about?
So either copy, public copy or council two copy for budgeted salaries for 2026, reduced by 10,000. I don't know why the budgeted amount reduced by 10,000. So I think I seen 2026, 1,428,000. And in May, budget that we have is 1.438.
Well, mine says 4.
No, the 26. I'm just wondering why 26 would change the budgeted at all. Like, I understand this is the live item underneath of how much we actually spent, but.
That was from when
line-
we made the budget adjustment, right?
I think so, I'm checking now.
Yeah, I think that was when we made the budget adjustment after the mid-year budget review.
Oh,
I
This- I'm looking at May.
understand, I just don't think that it was incorporated.
Hold on, I'm looking at it.
Oh, where we shifted some of the money from salaries, that's right, to training and,
No, he's not asking it. I know yet. I got it. Hold on. One.
Yeah, just curious. I think I saw it somewhere else.
Yeah, I think 438.
Like on the next page, professional development is up 3,000 budgeted
Mhm.
amount, so.
Yeah, I think it's from whatever.
That might be what
Cory
council
was able to
president
from
said.
the most budget adjustments.
Okay. Just curious, because budgeted, I figured that's voted in and.
Yeah, that's the only
Okay.
reason why you would see a change to a budgeted amount for youth acquire group as well as the budget. All right, so yes, I'm not gonna go through everything. I'll just go through mostly where we made the changes. So just bear with me while I scroll through everything. So public safety was mostly the same. On the first page.
Yeah, I think just the health went 10,000,
Yes.
in 417 instead of 407.
Yes.
yeah, because we got the numbers for the state for the health insurance.
I think there was.
Well, our open enrollment, so people had the right thing.
Yes. Yeah, just.
People-
That was that May 15th?
Yes.
I think so, yeah. And some employees, they may change, so that's why I hope.
Oh, they changed their plans.
Or you can add or drop.
Right, right.
So will that change to council president's question with the actual rate, or do we already apply that?
The new rate is.
It provided. And it, do you remember what it changed to? It increased 2%. Okay.
19.7?
Well, we'll find that and get back to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we go to, debt service vehicles, public safety.
This is
2%.
Yeah, that's why.
Okay, yeah, health, I'm sorry, it did increase.
2%.
I'm sorry, my page numbers are punched out, so
Oh,
I can't tell you the page number, but it's around page 4, I think, or 5. For debt service vehicles, public safety. Page 4.
oh, I see, right, roughly in the middle.
Yes, we didn't have that included, but now we do.
And that's with the change we made last month, right?
Yes, we didn't have anything in there last month because we were waiting
Right.
to hear from our partner. who helps us purchase the vehicles. And this includes, one additional vehicle, to be purchased mid-year, and one additional vehicle to be purchased, in November.
Are we expecting, like, can you talk to Nate about it, I guess?
Yes, so these are for vehicles, which leases are going to go up. And we are swapping those vehicles to newer vehicles because they are run, so often, they would remain under warranty. We did start a new lease and, they would just make no sense for the amount of time that they're.
Okay, so we're not adding more vehicles, we're just replacing.
We're
the lease.
replacing,
Correct,
so they're replacements, not additions.
correct.
Okay.
So the 20% increase in year to year is a lease agreement is more expensive? Is that how I'm reading that?
It's adding on the newer vehicles.
Yeah,
But I feel like we're adding every year, so is it fair to say that the contract is just more expensive this year? Because I do think we.
Well, they're
pretty much have
newer, they're newer models
They're newer
compared
models.
to a model that might have been 2021, where it's about 26.
so we're swapping out the leased vehicles every couple of years, just to make sure that we're staying on top of that. And that they're remaining under warranty, because like I said, they are run pretty much 24/7. And, we don't want them to not be under warranty, because then we have a lot of
Mhm.
maintenance for them.
Would these increases be in capital, plan, like to anticipate year, like
Mhm.
over a 5 year, like just so we understand when leases expire and stuff, so we can, because this
Yes.
20,000 increase that,
Sure,
would be good to know ahead of time too, just kind of as we
So-
anticipate everything else.
yes, when, I'm working on, finishing that up, but just know, like, the enterprise, they obviously won't be able to give me every model, for the
Mhm.
next 5 years. They can give me like an estimate and say, every year increase by 15%, whatever,
Mhm.
but, it won't be 100% accurate.
Well, I think even without numbers, if we just know
What-
FY 27 has one lease expiring FY 28, like
Yeah.
just so we understand, like we can, obviously numbers are,
Mhm.
fluctuating from every
Okay.
year, but it would be great to have some estimate, but I think what we do know is when leases are coming.
Yes, absolutely. And then, two below that, you'll see 8,000 for capital outlays. And those are for the down payments for the vehicles. So the debt service for the vehicles is the monthly, for the existing leases that we have, and then the new leases that we'll get, and then the down payments for the new vehicles.
Do you have any idea approximately with the new vehicles, approximately how much they are, their monthly leases? Any idea?
Um,
No, that's fine.
one is about, I think they're about like 900 to 1,000
For the two?
for one, and then the other one's less than that.
But it's for this vehicle, so I presume
Yes.
different gadgets and stuff.
Yeah, they have more accessories and an ordinary car,
Well, I thought,
actually motor and all that.
Or is that a one-time fee?
I thought.
No, we have to, every time we get a new one, we'll have to get a new outfit.
I mean, like, is the fee for the equipment, sorry,
No,
Councilor
no,
Marissa, like,
no,
is
no,
the
it's fine.
fee like that, let's say we put 5,000 for everything they gotta install, and then the monthly is just for the car itself, not the.
No, we
No,
make
we
it
said
into.
we put it
lease
in for-
everything.
Yeah.
I was just saying, as Council President mentioned, prior council meeting, my understanding was that the new leases were in regards to the electric vehicles that are predominantly used by building code inspector and,
We'll get there.
okay, so that's not this?
No, this is only public safety. We're
Okay,
on public
okay,
safety. right now.
okay.
All right, any more questions about that?
Just one question on public safety, and I'm sorry we're going backwards. So I see in the, on page 2, the pension plan, this is actually increasing 17%.
Yes.
Is that due to the salary increase? I know usually the
So
state
that-
tells us.
the state got the pension, and then it's based on
Page 2.
that person's salary. It's a percentage of your salary, like if it's 15%, it's 15% of the salary.
Okay,
But it didn't,
so it increased
Yes.
17%.
Yeah, it increased a lot.
And it fluctuates every year. I
Yeah.
think a couple years ago it went down, but then it goes right back.
Why does it fluctuate so much? I
It's
mean,
based on what the state tells us how much our match is.
They do like
It's an actual.
Actuaries report, have to.
Well, I imagine
Just
that
like a lot.
it's about our total salary, so if we have more new officers earning a lower salary and fewer,
Correct.
you know, experienced long-term officers who are at a higher salary, our total salary will fluctuate as our mix
Yes,
of new
yeah,
and experienced employees.
right. Our, actual contribution will vary, but, the percentage of the state requires of us
Is the
is
same.
set by them annually. Any other questions?
The SEO pay job overtime
Yeah.
is all reimbursable overtime, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
It shows also on the revenue side. I think it's under paid jobs, which is, public safety and public works combined, so it's a lot.
All right, now we're on public services.
Sorry, well, we, just a wrap up question about vehicle. Is the gas included in here or certain mileage?
It's under
Gas is under, fuel.
Motor fuel, yeah.
So the lease doesn't include any mileage restrictions or anything that it does.
We will include mileage restrictions when we sign for the lease.
Mhm.
I don't remember those off. the top of my head. But there's.
We don't wanna look at the
It's
number with
50,000.
gas prices.
Yeah, it's 50,000. Last year we budgeted 45. We spent almost 30 as of last month. So,
Of course, that's
We added-
gone up.
yeah, and I just said this last year, but we're getting away from the hybrid vehicles for the police vehicles because there was, quite a bit of issues with that. And a lot of like repairs needed because of it.
Well, they get the heaviest use.
Like battery replacements and stuff?
Yeah. All right, so public services, we have not had any of the salary information, so we have added that. You wanna look at that first page?
5% increase, that line.
There's supervision.
Yes.
I got this. Just realized. Very good computer. Excuse me, one second.
Was it, is it the same with the public service with the pension?
Yeah, so ours is still set by the state. It's still the same thing,
Okay,
same concept. It's just that the state is way lower than the
Is that
police.
percentage
27 is
higher just because the salaries are higher to
Yeah,
it? based
so
on the new-
it's based on the
salary.
salary, the percentage is based off that individual salary.
Well, I talk about
So. as you
Bless you.
get
Bless you.
higher,
I'm right here now.
And.
Thank you.
Police pension is way. Is it the same order as that?
But I presume the percentage would be
For the most part.
70% there too, if we
Yeah.
don't have contract
We're at,
negotiations happening. Like,
No,
what-
Public
it's
service.
based on, it's based on that individual salary and what the base.
I'm saying their salaries are going up by this contract because of that, I think that's adding to this pension number being even higher.
Oh, yeah, because the salaries
Yeah,
on
the
that.
house, salary.
All right, those are all the salaries. Any more questions on the salaries? We did add, one additional public works laborer, for the full year.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the full year, just because of, demands and the needs, of
And that's
the department.
reflected in these salaries.
Yes, that's reflected in salaries dash P serve.
So this increase is not only the contract increase of salaries, but also additional person working, when we're comparing to last year.
Correct.
It's also. Did that person start already?
Oh, no. We won't, put anything out until we approve it.
Okay, good.
For operating supplies, at the last meeting, we talked about how we had, $500 in temporary labor, which we had not used in quite some time, so we removed that $500 and moved the $500 to operating supplies where it could be better utilized. Building repairs,
Can we talk, sorry, can we go back to building repairs?
yeah,
Oh, sorry, okay.
that's where I was going.
Yeah.
So building repairs and security, maintenance. So we had 16,400 the last time. That's because we put the heaters there and then we put it on the capital side. We just moved it, to the capital side. And we just put 5,000 in here for like small building repairs.
I have a note for 4,400 being in a bond bill. I don't know.
For the bond bill,
Mhm.
yes.
Like that number was fluctuating based on how the bond bill goes.
Yeah, we'll talk more
Because we
about that
had a
at
whole-
capital.
yeah.
Mhm. But I just wanted to point out that we removed the heater from there and moved it to capital.
So in other
So-
words, this is just routine maintenance,
Yeah.
whereas capital improvements are a new furnace or a new
Correct.
roof or whatever.
Thanks for that.
Correct. Uniforms slash maintenance for public services, we did increase that a little based on the union contract. So it was 10,000 based on last year's budgeted amount, but we increased it to 15,000. Then we can go on to debt service slash vehicle lease for public services. And that is where we would have the electric vehicles for the Bolts. So we have budgeted that money in this year's budget. We're rolling it over to next year because we have not been able to make the purchase of the Bolts yet. There were some rebates that we wanted that expired the day that we approved them, of course. So we are hoping that they come back this month and we're able to make the purchase. If not, we'll make the purchase next year once there are some more rebates available to get us that better price. And then we also,
This is through the same leasing agency.
yes, enterprise.
It's the bottom of page 9.
Next to the last line on page 9, yeah.
That's the one. No. Yeah, okay. Then we have storm drainage didn't change from the last iteration.
Can I ask about that?
Yes.
We spent some time talking about, I think Councilperson Day was talking about the wood issue for drainage. Has that been resolved? Have we?
The look first has gone to look at it. We are trying to get in touch with the county because that is part of their maintenance responsibility.
Mhm.
I'm trying to get them to come out
And I'm sorry, where is this that you're talking about?
in Buttonwood.
It's on Buckwood Avenue.
We're talking about potentially like a lot of, unwanted effects
Back and
from, yeah, just waters.
Right, oh, I know that ditch that runs through Buttonwood, but I didn't understand the word you said, that's why I
Oh,
wasn't sure.
Yes. So we're following up with them to make sure that they go out and do that. They did come out months ago, but we need to make sure that they're maintaining it.
Mhm.
But that storm drainage is for our annual review of the dikes and the shoreline, the match for the surface water matching planning grant, which is part of the storm drainage, making it greener. We did the inventory with the grant this year for surface water matching planning grant. We got another one for this coming year. It's also for the contract with the conservation district to help us with these things and any dike repairs, which we did have an evaluation of the dikes a couple months ago, and we're waiting for estimates to see how much the repairs are that we expect. We budgeted 100,000 in this line, so we expect to probably use that. And then, capital improvements, bond bill, that number did not change from the last time. But that was for the dog park, parking lot,
Oh, right.
which I am working with the engineer. I mentioned this last time, but I'm waiting to hear back from the engineer on like design and things like that.
But back on page 9, since you brought up the dog park.
Yeah.
How do we handle the situation of potentially $100,000? I know you're going out for additional bids.
Yeah, so one quote was like 109, and then we got a second one for 89,000. I sent that the other day. And I have applied for ORP2 for their pre-application. And hopefully I'll hear back by the end of the month if we're invited to apply for a full grant. If so, I'm hoping that we can get a grant for at least 125,000 to cover that.
And then some other things possibly.
Right, like move the water line, maybe add some benches, maybe add some equipment for the dogs, things like that.
Okay, cool, thank you.
So we're basically gonna be on hold until we know what happens with the ORPT grant.
I think so, unless you wanna use some of that ARPA savings reserve and allocate some more money to it.
I
I
think
mean, I'm a dog lover, oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, I mean, if we have the hopes of getting the money, from the grant, we should know in the fall, right?
We would probably not know until December, so I think
It wouldn't
application,
begin till next year then.
right, the applications typically due like August, September, them are usually awarded December, January. And then, yeah, probably gonna do virtual.
So we just put everything on hold basically until
Yeah.
then.
I mean, I'm a dog lover, I have a dog myself. I would love to have a dog park in town, but I don't see a problem with it being, like if we can raise funds
Okay.
elsewhere.
And
think it
did
makes
we
sense.
apply for, wasn't one of the AARP grants
Yes.
also to go towards the dog park?
We did, and I haven't heard back yet. Hopefully I'll hear.
So
back
we've
soon.
got a couple balls in the air
We
on
do.
that.
Thank
So,
you.
That's fine. We'd like to do that.
Just the dog park parking lot, that's something that been, even before the dog park came up, we've been carrying that along, projecting to pave that lot for some
Correct.
time.
That whole lot needed approved, maintenance amendment.
Because that's, I mean, the tour buses use that parking lot. And
Right.
it's not just for the dog park.
No, it's just for the city as a whole.
When they're good, we were talking about aligning projects with stuff that DelDOT does, identify the road map, go plan.
Mhm.
When they do the intersection at Ferry Cutoff, how far are they paving that intersection? Is it just right there?
Yeah, it's just right there.
And not the road all the way, like,
No.
that's a separate
On the
project?
other side, like,
Like where this project would be,
towards
like,
here.
that other, okay, that would be later.
yeah. Sea level rise. Task force, we did change the names to flood resiliency committee just to get in line with everything else we have already done. It's about page 13 for me.
Oh, it's bottom of page 10 for us. Last line on page 10. So that would be because now we do actually have some hopes of getting money next year for the dikes with Senators Coons and Rochester supporting us for
Yes.
congressionally directed funding for this.
Yes, so we do have those hopes, but also the Burke grant applications due at the end of this month. So we're gonna also go for
Well,
that.
that's right, Brick's been reinstated too.
Yes. So we have a lot of opportunity there. So we put that 32,300 as a carryover from this year because we didn't use all the engineering and we're
Right.
hopeful to use it.
That's basically for the engineering,
Correct,
if we get it.
to help us prepare the grants.
Right.
Then I have a question, sorry, because I'm seeing on our page 10,
Mhm.
it says sea level rise task force. On
Yeah,
page
but
11 is
We
flood
can't change that
resiliency.
line right now because it's in use. We will change it when we get to the new budget, but you see below it, flood resiliency committee, legal and professional development.
So the name
We
was
changed it there, but we'll change.
So this line for 32,000 will change eventually.
Yeah. And then if we go a couple lines below that to contributions, you'll see that decreased because we added a line to call out for Goodwill Fire Company for their contribution, which was requested at the last meeting, and that was the 55,000 that they requested.
I almost wonder, just a question for council going back to the 32,000, if that can go to that line that Councilperson Matterway months ago recommended for matching stuff.
What
I
does it
wouldn't.
have?
Like-
You're talking about the sea
I
level
don't, I
rise.
don't, I don't know what's it called. I don't know what the line is called, special
Special
projects or
projects.
something.
Mhm.
Like we created a line for, that starts for matching funds for.
Right, I
grants.
understand that. I'm sorry, we're not there, and that's why I was.
No, I was talking
confused.
about the 32,000 from flood resiliency. If we just wanted to move it there since it's a matching.
Well, this is not, this is to prepare the grants.
This is engineering to help
Gotcha.
prepare the grants.
I was just thinking it kind of goes against the same, grant language, but that's okay. I'm just the thought while we're there.
Speaking of contributions, we talked about, we can go through all of them now or later with the finer tooth comb. But we talked about the request for the Buttonwood School and how it was significant. They did reach out to say that they can phase out the project. They don't have the numbers of each phase. They are hoping to get that to me by tomorrow. So a little short of this meeting, but they are hoping to phase that project, I think, in 3 phases. The playground would be accessible to the public, and that's all the information we have.
Oh, that's great.
Mhm.
And did
Yeah.
you hear about response on what would happen with city playground? Was there consideration with?
No, I mean, that's up to us.
Mhm.
I don't think we should close an existing playground personally, but,
Do we need 2 playgrounds within a couple of blocks of each other?
Yeah,
well, that's a question for us
Okay.
to
Because
decide,
if
but
one at the school is going to be a city playground that we're going to support and potentially support going forward with maintenance and so forth, do we
but
need?
are we?
Well, I don't know. That's the question.
No.
But I think that was why we
It's
asked if it was open to public, so that.
Yeah.
Right, and now that we know.
gotta be open to the public, but it's not ours to maintain and beautify and contribute to, unless they're gonna continually ask for financial contributions each year.
We can probably see how it works out as they build it.
That may be
one year.
something to talk
leads
to
there's
the
overlap.
community leaders there to see what their thinking is.
Mhm.
I mean, would they rather have more money for one playground or spread the money between 2? When the playgrounds are only a couple of blocks apart.
Or do we do something different with our playground?
Right, that space could be basketball courts or whatever.
Adult gym, yeah, basketball, court, yeah.
Or pickleball courts, basketball, whatever.
I
But
think community input is a
I
great
think-
idea.
community input, since they're the ones who use it.
Did they have
Like
any
that.
response about the roof?
They did not.
I heard a little bit of update on that,
Okay.
Councilperson Day. The roof, aspect that I heard is, I think I mentioned it, they got a $500,000 grant, from Senator Coon's office. And they said that they're not expecting to hear anything until July 1 in regards to that. At the same time, they're working to try to get on the historic register. One of the aspects of the historical register is the historical nature of the building in terms of what it is meant, but then also its content, what does it look like, what is it made of, et cetera. Say that to say, historically, there has been 100% cedar roof. And so over time, if you don't maintenance the cedar, it whittles down and becomes issues. The context and feedback that I heard was that of that $500,000 grant that is going to be awarded from Senator Coon's office, they're getting bids for about $200,000 for a cedar roof. And so the feedback was, hey, if the city wants to help with that, great. But we didn't think they were in line for, a 6-figure type of hit. Which that's what it would be for 100% cedar roof. And the thought is to try to ensure that that historical nature is maintained for preservation, but also not wanting to do anything before it quote unquote gets considered or is on the historical register.
Right.
So
All right, I'm confused. First of all, is the grant from through Coons' office certain, or is this one of these recommendations that won't be determined till the fall?
they got an award letter.
Oh, they got it, okay, so it's in this budget, okay. And then the second thing is, I thought you said they were estimating 500,000 for the roof, but they were getting 200,000.
No, that's not what I said.
I misunderstood you
That's
then.
okay. I'll clarify. They were awarded a $500,000 grant from
Grant.
Senator Coons'
Oh, right,
office.
right, that's right.
100% cedar roof, they're estimating is gonna cost about $200,000.
Right, so not the full amount of the
Yeah,
grant.
that's my,
I just wanted to make sure that was being addressed before we allocated other money.
Yeah.
That seems like the most important thing for.
absolutely.
Right, because if the roof's not maintained, the rest of the building's gonna deteriorate further.
Yeah. So just to add to that, and if you answer that, I'm sorry, like their application for 500 for Senator Cruz's office was included, like they were thinking about spending that part of that on roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, just,
That's my understanding.
I understand.
So, but getting back to contributions, so this 132,976 includes the full 48,000 for requested by the school, right?
Correct.
And if they phase those two projects, then they maybe need roughly half. Is that
Yeah, I
right?
mean, they're phasing it into 3 parts, so I don't know, which each phase is gonna cost. But I would imagine it might even be less for each phase. And I don't know about their timeline either. That's what they were gonna get back to me on.
I agree with wanting to get community input in regards to outdoor space. I think that's necessary, so it's not redundant, and so it's also what people want and what people will use.
Exactly.
So I.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if there's overlap and they see, more, we as a city, we can move that money there to do, have more fun playground. I think that makes absolute sense. I personally, I'm just happy that this is in front of us because I just love the fact, I was reading last meeting, all the grants that they applied and received. That's great to see, so I, as a council, I'm sure my colleagues share that opinion is, like now that we hear about roof and stuff, like it's just great that this area can be revitalized, and hopefully even further if we get the census tract, designation and stuff, so that even more stuff can happen in the area, so it's
If
great.
we approve this the budget with the full contributions grant listed here,
Mhm.
and then they phase that project and need less, I guess we could reallocate some of that money. Potentially,
I would think so.
okay.
I would,
I like the mid-year.
in
Council
the,
President?
yeah, I would say in the, grant award letter that I would send to them, I would, request that they send me,
The actual request.
yeah, the request and, but updates on their progress and actual spending.
So their request is for the windows and the playground equipment, right?
Yes, and the
Community
garden.
Right. Do we want to allocate the playground money before we really agree on if we're having 2 there or like what we want to do there? I mean, if we just give them the grant, obviously it's us saying, okay, go ahead, the playground's fine with us. But I don't know if that was something that we wanted to discuss before we allocate more money for a playground in a
Yeah.
community where we already have a playground. And I'm not opposed to it, but I think if they get the money, they're gonna think we said,
Yeah.
To that
Go ahead.
point, I wonder if maybe something, obviously not voting on the full budget now, but this is somewhat of a unique ask. But I think it's warranted, and I think it's most importantly needed for that community. What about asking them, and if we can even, I don't want to put anybody else on the block, I'll participate, trying to get community support, signatures, whatever, to say, okay, this is what we want. Right, and we are supportive of this endeavor before, saying, oh, city just approved it. One person said they want to use it, didn't ask anybody else, that type of thing.
I think we need to clarify that because that plus it impacts the budget line for the other city playgrounds, which I assume includes some money for that,
For the mulch.
for the city Buttonwood playground. And if they say, no, we really don't need 2 playgrounds, then that money can be moved around too.
Mhm.
Now, maybe it would be reallocated to change that space from a somewhat decrepit playground
Mhm.
to, I'll just say basketball courts, but whatever. The community feels would be best for them.
I mean, yeah, there's gonna have to be a lot of thought until
Yeah.
it goes.
It's not
because
something-
Very close to houses.
It's
Yeah, I
not,
was gonna say.
that's it,
Yeah.
that can be noisy.
And I was actually gonna say,
What is, you mean the current playground? So
Yes.
Yeah, if
Right
we
on
were
the
to change it
corner
to like a
there.
basketball court or pickleball, there might be some noise.
I actually think personally, there would be some value if the community in that area says that they want it at the Buttonwood Color School, which has historically been a community meeting place.
Right.
That's the consensus. given the growth, the development, et cetera, I wouldn't be averse to considering putting that parcel up for sale. That's buy homes that could get the city a windfall of money that then could potentially help fund that project and get the city some tax roll money. I wouldn't be averse to that.
No, but that's not something we're gonna decide the next week.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's conversations with the community, but I would agree. I mean,
Yeah,
there's no sense in us keeping it and maintaining it if they want the park at the school, which seems logical.
it does. And I agree, a basketball court could be noisy, but if there's no lights, then it's not gonna be utilized at night, so it wouldn't be that disruptive.
You know, they'll just put a car there and light it out.
Well, yes, because that's what the complaint is for the battery.
And a boombox, right?
Get a move on, yes.
So I think that's all conversations to be had with the community.
Yeah.
And I guess we can leave things as they are now, but with this sort of keep in the back of our minds, that some of this money may get shifted.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Depending on
once
the-
they have their info from their contractor, hopefully tomorrow, they can get back to you with what the cases will cost.
Right,
And then you can decide, you know,
I
if you wanna
agree.
phase one part for now and then maybe next year.
next year
phase the second
do phase two, yeah. And meanwhile, investigate where they want to go with the other playground.
part.
Yeah, I mean, I love idea, I'm sure. You guys agree, like, to be able to be in a garden as a parent and kids playing in the playground, you know, next door. And another thought I had was like, maybe that's a little kids playground and the other one could be turned into more adult kids, you know, type of content, so like. No supervision really needed, you go play in the playground, the one that already exists, and this one would be more supervision, but you're already there, have other contents to do, so just, obviously, I like the idea that Councilperson Mataway brought about, you know, because we didn't even think about that, but, you know, so I think whatever community probably says is what I would go with, but all these things
Yeah,
are.
but
good
any
ideas.
sort of adult use raises the noise issue probably,
Sure, yeah.
more than little kids do.
I
But
think
I'm
more
saying,
like
in a
teenager,
playground content, I'm saying, yeah,
middle
like, you know,
schoolers.
Yeah,
just the different items that would maybe attract. I just don't even know how many kids we have in that area, so.
well, with the new
Speak to that.
townhouses being built, there may be some young families
Yeah.
coming in.
Joe, you mentioned windows, that was for
I-
Velanco.
I've seen that
Okay.
now that I looked at it.
That's
again.
fine, I just
I
wanted
was
to make
thinking it
sure.
was restoration of museum windows, but it's not. That's
Yeah, that's. a lot.
restoration of museum and the windows is for the Polanka. I
Yep.
see that now. Thank you.
No problem. Just wanna make sure we're good to go, alright.
Thank
Then we get to the salaries for clerk and treasurer, which there's not a change. We talked about the audit the last time, which was 45,000.
Oh, it's just treasures.
Just give me a second.
No problem.
Oh, can I say something on the, another thing?
Mhm.
Economic, Councilperson,
Twelve.
on,
Three
on,
quarters of the way down, clerk and treasurer.
grant funding.
Sure, the
So,
contributions.
yes. So
We're back at contributions.
sorry. In, last year, I was added to the library board. And so I'm a board member of the library. And I, don't feel comfortable. I value the library. But because I have, control in some respects to the library budget, I would like to see if we could do a roll call vote or something to sparse that out. I don't want to be viewed as having any conflict of interest.
I have the same issue.
So I just,
This is library as well.
No, our South London Community Partnership, I'm on the board of one and treasurer the other.
Challenges of small town.
That's right.
No, it's just
I'm gonna
reality.
figure out what we need to do.
Yeah, we'll figure it
Yeah,
out.
how could, I mean, because it's part of the budget as a whole and we vote on the budget as an entity.
Yeah, what you can do is when it comes time to approve the budget, you can pull those lines out in particular. So whichever of those you want to have a specific vote on. And so what you would do is you would present the budget for decision. And you would make an ask to pull the library, you would make an ask to pull the Newark Partnership, grab the other one. And then you would vote on the budget. and then you would vote one by one on those other line items, and you can abstain and
I
recuse.
mean, so we would vote individually on the contributions,
Correct, for
Well,
those.
just
You-
those three.
Just for
Just
those
those
three.
three.
just
You-
those three.
You
would-
CCP.
Right, you would effectively approve, and what you should actually, thinking out loud, do it in the reverse. So vote on those line items first,
Right,
and then vote
Oh,
on the budget,
Total budget.
based on
Okay.
those. But you just pull them out individually.
so that's first.
That's just to be transparent.
No, that's a good
I
idea.
appreciate that.
Let's see.
Anything else for contributions? Last one, okay. Okay, then we can go all the way down to admin salaries.
Uh,
Let's see, admin salary.
Page 14, first line, I think is the text is on
Yeah, the
bottom
text,
page
that's,
13.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, or text is here, and it
It's
follows.
splits, yeah.
So that includes, ASME increases, but it also includes 6 months of, salaries for a new, admin assistant or secretary. So that's one additional personnel change.
Full time,
6 months.
Full time, 6 months,
Why 6 months?
January start.
just to lessen the impact on the
Okay,
budget
got it.
this year, by only paying for half a year.
Exactly. Sorry.
Oh, it's your voice.
And then all the other things that affect, that were affected by AFSCME, so FICA, health and dental, all of that, have now been added. So,
So is the janitorial services, just to confirm, that's
Mhm.
added 1,000 to increase the frequency of cleaning the windows?
yes,
I have a note in here for the old number, but just want to confirm.
yeah, we got a better number. I got a better quote. So there is fuel and oil admin, and then right below that, we added a line,
Sorry, which one?
fuel and oil admin.
16, second line.
Yes, and then right below that, we added debt service / vehicle for admin. And that is for the down payment and the monthly payments for a new admin vehicle. Current one that we have is about 14 years old. And while it still works right now, I have some concerns about how long that will last. There are a couple of little issues that we've had to work through with that vehicle, but I think it's time to start building that into the budget and accounting for a new vehicle. We will keep the old vehicle because it was not a leased vehicle, it was purchased outright 14 years ago. So we're gonna keep that for local use for public works and things like that. But we added that line, as a vehicle hadn't been purchased in so long, there was no line for that, so we added that line and, included that in the budget.
Are you saying purchase the new one outright or roll it into the lease package?
Roll it into the lease. So that's the down payment and then the monthly lease payment.
Resume down payment the same. So 4,000 we saw like per vehicle.
And I think we discussed this earlier, you and I just offhand, you were going to explore at least whether or not a hybrid vehicle is available.
Yeah, I haven't had the chance to explore a hybrid vehicle.
Well, or see what the enterprise can offer.
Yes, I'll see what they have.
I know you want something with four-wheel drive in case of
Yes.
emergencies.
Exactly. So
I'm not enough of a car person to know if such a thing exists, but
I'm not sure either. I know that like I said earlier, the police vehicles, were of course four-wheel drive and hybrid, and they didn't
And
go too well.
was that problem related to the four-wheel drive function or because they're used so heavily?
It's the hybrid, replacing the hybrid battery.
Well, yeah, and that's because those cars are used so much.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I
this
have a
would not be
hybrid and it's-
used. I have a hybrid. I mean, I had it for 12 years and never had to replace the battery. But I wasn't using it the way the police vehicle.
Right. Yeah, we'll check in on that. I haven't had a chance to. We did get a couple quotes for, vehicles comparable to what we already have. And this was just what made the most sense in terms of a comparable vehicle. So. that's
It's
what-
but
yeah,
at
we'll
least
check it.
ask them and see what,
Yes.
I mean, I understand the need for four-wheel drive.
Yes.
But, I think maybe something more fuel efficient might be available.
Yeah, and this should be because it is newer. so-
Well, the newer ones tend to be more fuel efficient, yes.
Just to add that, does anybody know if there's four-wheel electric vehicles though? Because this one isn't used as much and then.
Well, but the electric vehicle's a problem because
This would have to,
did it at her
there were
house.
some other.
And she'd
yeah.
be charging it at home, and then how would we pay her for the electric? And
I didn't know that's how it works. Yeah, okay, I thought it was just like.
no, because we
driving around.
provide the fuel, and she drives back and forth.
Gotcha.
And that was part of her contract, so.
So that is all that we have changed there.
And I don't know if there's gonna be four-wheel drives either, but. But it's just under this combination of circumstances, it's not real practical.
I know we went over this and some briefly tonight, but can you just review special projects and grants again with us?
Oh, yeah, sorry. So that was, that's where part of what we applied for Bonneville. So that was the ORPT grant, which we talked, both of these things are what we talked about at the mid-year budget review. And those were the match for the ORPT grant and the Safe Streets for All match. And that was $108,968,000 and $152,981,000. And so I did apply for the bond bill for both of those projects. We won't know if we'll get those funded until July, but because we've already obligated ourselves to, supporting those projects, I put them in here. And then we also put $50,000 to fund the special projects fund.
Yeah, the two matching about 250, right? Thousand. The two matching.
The two together,
Or RPT, Safe Streets are about.
260.
260.
Mhm. The other thing we wanted to talk about here, which I don't know if you want to talk about or not, or if you want to talk about this at the council meeting, is again that impact fee project.
What's that?
Another study.
Thank you, I couldn't think of the word.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would come out of this too, right?
Right, so we would need to add that cost.
Right, well, if we decide to go with that, right?
Correct. So I don't need to know if we wanted to.
You wanna go there?
Do we, I mean,
If we didn't get one of these in July though, we could then allocate that money to reallocate that money.
That's true.
right. So if we get the bond bill money, then we wouldn't need all of this. And we could reallocate that money if we had decided to approve the study, right?
Correct.
And it would even be within the same line item.
Yes.
I mean, I've spoken to Antonina to add this for tonight's discussion as one of the items, so we can talk about it continuously as we have the budget meetings and council meetings, just because, I don't know, more I think about it from policy perspective, like, to me, like if a study comes and says, hey, these one-time fees for every new unit being built in Newcastle is, I don't know, whatever amount of money we can talk about, Riverbend or just any blank amount, then if we don't do it, then any new development, we're paying taxing residents for those new developments that are happening. So that doesn't sit well with me, but I understand it's an investment that we're making, that we're
Well,
looking to
and-
pay off hopefully in the end. But that's kind of my biggest argument for that is like, if it does come, and I'm guessing for most people who conduct impact fee study, they probably come with some price structure that explains what goes in with every new development that justifies it. So that's kind of what I've been thinking about. Like, if we don't do it, and there's $200,000 worth of impact fees every year, then we have to
So are
raise those funds every year out of, property tax most likely,
okay, are we going
that's
to
kind of what I'm thinking.
digress from discussing the budget?
Oh,
and
yeah, we can
discuss
talk
the
it later.
impact fees, or are we gonna discuss?
I was just talking because we read that line item, so I'm happy to wait for later, and come back to this line item, so
Well, as Joe said,
Oh.
if,
I sure will.
as, if we should get some bond bill money to cover one of these matches, then that would free up money potentially.
Yeah.
And we have some other areas where we may have money to reallocate, depending on as we've discussed
Mhm.
in some of these other line items. So we would potentially have money to move around if we decided to go forward with the study.
I'm more talking about it conceptually, like we can add this here, and let's say it's 370 total, and then it reduces by whatever gets granted later, so it's more about, curious about, what council thinks about, like action versus inaction and what happens later, 5, 10 years from now, if we do have a lot of development and we kind of, I don't want to say miss the boat, but we, that's my policy perspective on it, regardless of what's going on in the city right now, I guess, with development. But I'm happy to talk about it. It's down on the agenda.
Where are we going? All right.
So later, I'm guessing.
I think it makes more sense to finish the budget. What do the others think?
I agree.
Okay. If we go down to capital reserve, which was a couple pages down,
Second.
Bottom of page 18.
all right, so this is where there are a lot of projects and where there are some bond bill projects. So in terms of what we've applied for the bond bill, we have a police department mini split, which is 34,434. Along with evidence storage, which is 17,855.
How much is the split, sorry?
The split 34,434.
You said 17,000 for evidence storage?
Yeah, 17,855. And then we have heaters for Charlie Barn,
That's the 9,000 that was moved.
16,400. So those were applied for bond bill. And then in addition to that, we had 150,000 and 75,000, which are carryovers for the administration building.
And one of them is security and one of them is just updates.
Security, and one is restrooms. And then we also added 100,000 for the admin building for flooring and paint. We added about 5,000 for additional, 75,000, 7,500, oh my gosh, sorry, for additional updates to the police department. And then we added 87,000 for the Charlie Barn roof.
How
And
much,
then, sorry,
How much was the last one?
87,000 and change. And then we also added 7,400 for Charlie Barn brick cleaning, because we talked about that at the last meeting. But there are, to repoint all of the sides of the building, that's an additional 204,000.
Yeah, that's expensive.
Which is a lot. And so that will also be brought into the capital improvement plan. But I didn't know if we wanted to maybe break that up and start and do one side this year.
Is there one side that's worse than the other? Maybe the side that gets the most weather or something? As I know when bricks if the mortar's really gone, then you get moisture getting into the building and it causes more damage.
Yeah, I would have to review the quotes to tell you that specifically. So I'm happy to do that and let you know.
I mean, it somewhat makes sense to split. I mean, you save a bit if you have them come and do it all at once, because they only have to bring their equipment once and all
Right.
that stuff. But it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if we're gonna break it up, I think we should try to prioritize the side that needs, like you frequently, the side that takes the most weather.
Right.
Is the side that deteriorates first.
Right.
Fastest.
Do you think we're gonna get to all the admin building updates this year?
For the item carryover, yes, I could probably, start them soon. The floor and then the paint, I would, if I could incorporate that all at the same time and get it all done, then yeah.
I mean, it would make sense for that to follow the security and restrooms,
Mhm.
to follow, project follow the other.
Yeah, do it all at once.
Yeah, as much as I'd like to allocate the money for the trolley barn, I do think, I mean, we already have a lot of projects this year.
Yeah.
That's gonna stretch people thin, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
in doing the projects as well, so. Obviously this money's in the budget. Next year we could allocate, the same type of funds to the trolley barn to get the brick done and maybe
Yeah.
get it painted and.
Right.
And
And I think at least, like, we know we need to get the heater done and we put that into Bondville, we put it here. I think
Well,
it
and you
makes
get the
sense
roof done too.
to, right, do the roof
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
And then, right, follow through with the sides of the building.
Mhm.
So should I just hold then on allocating the sides?
I think we should at this point. I mean, we are doing, part of it this year and we got a lot to the admin building. I
Mhm.
just think it is a lot of projects to, you know what I mean, to get done in a year. But maybe, like I said, next year we could allocate these funds to the trolley barn.
Mhm.
I don't think unless you're telling us 1 year is gonna make a big difference
I don't think so.
structurally or something.
I think, it's been a long waited to get that
Mhm.
done. I don't think one additional year is gonna impact
Yeah.
it.
It could even be like one of those things that, we talked, as we talked last meeting, to start conversations with trustees about capital improvement, like as they continue the line, hopefully, it could be one of those projects that is identified or, in partnership with the city.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I agree with Councilperson Day. I see the list of 8, 9 things here, so. I mean, if we, realistically, if we can do them all, I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah. Be happy for you to do half of them.
Okay, so I will leave everything as it is. Once we hear back about Bonneville, we could talk about how we're gonna reallocate the funds that we've allocated for those projects.
Right.
if we need to.
If we get money, but yeah, if we get whatever we get from the bond bill.
When will we hear for that? I know that they're
Early
voting
July.
the 30th, but
Yeah, it's usually like July 1st, I think.
we would have to vote on our budget before that, right? So-
Yeah. We have to vote on our budget before we'll know, unfortunately. Unless we wanna make a charge change the budget.
No, I'm just talking about the impact for impact piece. that,
Yeah.
Like, you can't really make a decision
Exactly.
afterwards, yeah. Which is almost making a decision. But yes.
All right, so that just brings us. To, I think that is pretty much it. Which brings us to the total for the budget, which is 8,741,973. So I would like to go over the presentation.
Bottom of 22.
You know, how to swap to the presentation.
Pardon me?
Do you know how to swap to the presentation?
Right.
No, it's okay. I don't know.
Really?
Sorry, just give me like 5 minutes if you want to take a restroom break.
And there's somebody, look like somebody's pulling in right now.
Oh, does
It's
it?
an officer in the gate.
Okay,
We're gonna
perfect.
catch 'em.
That'll be right with me. Sorry.
Some seed money.
Special projects,
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
or I think beach.
You're talking about in this budget?
No, because I've got a FOIA request, a budget like that.
If you're talking about
This
page
budget,
16, special projects and grants.
it's my done. So I'm gonna have to FOIA request one that's like that.
Well, if you're talking about special projects and grants,
This one will be available online. It's already up there. It should be.
this is already, this line is already there.
It couldn't be because the contract hadn't been approved, so we didn't have all the numbers.
I was shown the one.
There was the old prior budget without the new contract numbers.
But special projects includes RPT River Safe Streets matching. And then 50,000 for matching special projects. We don't know which ones. That's
So
basically put
you should
aside.
be able to get that
That's,
now
That-
online.
Thank you.
but that amount was the same last time too.
Yeah.
It's not a new line, no. Nothing to do with.
Just for Andrew to come back from the restroom.
No,
It should be.
it hurt on city time, man.
We're on this money here.
Ain't no workman's comp here.
Yeah, come on. We're talking about budget right now. Alright, so, like I said, I wanted to go over the presentation so we can talk, the budget overall, revenue and expenses. And, potential taxes, if we could get to that, line as well.
So we're basically the agenda item 3 now, right? If we're gonna be
Yeah,
talking
2 and
about
3.
that. Yeah, 2 and 3 kind of work, well, they have to work.
Yes, sure do. So, like I said, the, expenses overall, which equate to the need for revenue overall, is 8,741,973. All revenue besides tax revenue is 3,140,661.
So that's the non-tax.
That, yes, all other revenue besides tax.
Other,
Yes.
right. Well,
So
no,
that means that we need to bring in 5,601,312 from tax, and if you so choose, carryover.
and carryover includes that 844,000 from the.
No, this would be unrestricted carryover, which we would need to come up with some numbers, and I have some options which I can show you.
Okay. So that 800,000 is still not in any of this.
Right.
Okay, just wondering.
Are you talking about the transfer tax?
Yes,
No, it's not defined in any.
okay.
So if you go to the third slide, you can see the available funds that we currently have as of month end for April. We only have $1,818,487.49 in actual unrestricted funds. And that is due to the actual remaining budgeted expenses for FY 26, which is this current year, the amount to be moved to capital funds, which was done in May. So you'll see that next week. And then the remaining funds saved from expending ARPA. And just as a reminder, the recommended cash on hand for reserves is at least 6 months of the budget. So if we're looking at our new budget total of 8 million and change, we should have an additional $4,370,986.50 available to fund the budget. And with the actual unrestricted funds as of the end of April, we do not have that. So just keep that in mind.
Which line, sorry?
You see at the bottom of the far right,
Mhm.
that's the actual unrestricted.
After the funds that are already committed
Correct.
and to be paid through the end of the fiscal year.
Correct. And then I have a couple of slides to show the expense comparisons for FY 26 to FY 27. You can see the changes and increases or decreases in some lines. And then I have a couple of charts to show you that. As you can see, public safety. Oh, thank you. As you can see, public safety still remains our largest section at 38%, and then public services is at 21%. And also with the addition of the public works, parks, and public property.
I'm sorry, under the proposed budget expenses and the comparison. So mayor and council and clerk and treasurer, maybe the number is missing, the change.
Is it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. We're talking about 109,000 maybe.
9,000. Yeah,
Oh, for the change?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
right. I'm
okay.
sorry.
yeah, I should say.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Sorry about that.
No, I'm sorry,
That's all right.
Just in the change column.
for admin.
Mayor
Mayor
and
and
council over here.
Oh, I see.
Should be
Okay.
109,000.
Sorry, I'll fix
It's
that.
plus 109, okay.
Um,
345 from 236, right?
Okay, then the revenue comparison. Last year's revenue in property tax. We brought in 4,645,765, and then all other revenue was 2,952,881, for a total of 7,598,644. This year, our all other revenue is 3,140,661. And potential tax revenue is 5,601,312. Again, for a total budget of 8,741,972. I have, again, another chart to show the revenue comparison. And then we go 2 slides down to page 12. We have the current tax rate, which shows the tax burden. As of 2026 was 52% on residential and 48% on commercial. And that brought in the total tax, which is gonna look different. The total tax was 4,687,966 based on the assessments. And that assessment is a different number than you saw with last year's budget because we've had a lot of changes come from the county because of the appeals and things like that. So that number is different.
So, that was my question to follow up this, but is 1,315 in the assessed value the revised number with changes, or is that the old number?
Sorry, which one?
The total on the bottom of total assessed value,
That's a revised.
that's revised,
That's a
okay,
revised. Mhm.
Thank you.
So if we looked at the numbers today, this is what we would expect.
thank you.
So that's not the actual because we billed back in August.
No, I understand, the actual for last year, yeah, I understand, yeah.
Yes. And so that was based on the 0.35, 635, or 990 per 100. of assessed value tax rate that we approved for last year.
So then the percentage of tax burden is that, so because this amount that's shown here, that's a new tax assessment, does that then assume that the percentage is different because this isn't showing what we actually billed folks? Just curious, is this 52 higher? You know what I'm saying?
This was based on, once they did the reassessments. Once they did the reassessment, that's how it shifted.
So page 12,
Yes,
is this what we actually charge people?
yes.
So the current tax burden for this actual tax burden is 52.48.
52%.
Okay.
So prior to this, if you remember last year, we spoke about, well, we had the reassessment. And we spoke about how the tax burden shifted. So prior to last year, the tax burden was 40% residential, 60% commercial. And we went to our legislators and received a charter change. And then there was also the state law that changed that allowed everyone to have differential tax rates. So what we did, if you go to the next slide.
Sorry, I understand that. I guess what's hard for me to believe that revised values are still resulting in 54.48. Because 52.48 was what we had last year off of the
That's our
values we built.
This is, we're looking at her right now.
But that's what I asked, and then you guys said this is updated values.
Well, we can't talk about, we can't change.
No, I understand, so I'm saying 52, so that's the part that I'm not understanding. If these are new values, and that percentage is the same, then that would indicate to me that all the values, industrial and commercial and residential, reduced, let's say, because they were adjusted at the same rate. So that's the part I'm not understanding.
I think there's a two-part question. I think the councilman's question is, if this is reflective of the appeals and it's different from what it was, then it wouldn't necessarily be that the appeals would break down equally.
It would be
Residential-
surprisingly the 52.48 would still hold, is what I'm saying.
So the question is what was the tax burden before the appeals?
Okay.
Unless you held this unless the percentage is not up of this amount, new amount.
Right.
But the percentage of the old, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Or the explanation could be that the change is not great, that's why the percentage is still the same in both models. That makes sense?
Yeah.
If the change is only like 50,000, the percentage is still
Right.
gonna stay the same.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. This can be answered later, but
Yeah, Courtney's gonna
that's
check.
that was kind of hard to believe that it would still hold that same breakdown.
Okay. So if you go to the next slide, there are some options, because we went back to the 40/60 FY25 burden breakdown. So you'll see two options on this slide, and then on the next one, you'll see a third option. So option number one is to bring in the same tax revenue as last year, but to adjust the tax burden. So we adjusted it to 40% for residential, and that would bring the tax rate to 0.27 and change. And then we adjusted for commercial, and that would bring the tax rate to 0.44 to bring in the same tax revenue. And then we would need to use $913,346 of the unrestricted carry forward to fulfill the budget.
Okay, but still, and again, the unrestricted carry forward does not include that $844,000.
I have not signed the fiber.
That's just out there in limbo at this point.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what was the tax burden before we raised the tax rate before we raised the taxes, do you know?
$1.20.
Yeah,
Per 100.
well, because the assessed values went up so much.
I froze it all.
For about 5 times, I think, reduced, something like that, I remember.
Okay, option two. Did you have a question? Okay, sorry, that came on to say something. Option two is fulfilling the budget entirely with taxes. And so that would adjust the residential tax rate to 0.325 and change, and adjust the commercial tax rate to 0.535 and change. And then you would not have to bring any unrestricted carry forward.
So the way I'm reading that second option, well, the first one too, but even in the second option, residential rate would be still lower than what it is currently,
Correct.
0.35.
Both of those options.
But
Residential.
For residential, right?
Yes, but commercial would be increased significantly compared.
And then option 3, I did a split, so I split that 913,000 needed in excess of taxes from the previous year. So I accounted for an additional 456,673 in the tax revenue. And that would bring the residential rate down to 0.299 and change, and the commercial rate up to 0.492 and change. And then we would still have to utilize 456,673 in unrestricted carry forward.
How is this rate on the option 3 higher for commercial than a prior page?
It's not, it's 0.49 instead of 0.53.
But I was comparing the other left side, sorry.
Yeah, it's higher than that one because it's an additional 456,000, but then it's lower than the right side because it's 456 less.
So I think the commercial side is aware that this was happening. We put in special legislation, but now their tax is gonna increase.
And the state, they should know that even if they hadn't followed enough to know that we got the charter change.
Right.
When the state passed it, that all municipalities were allowed to do that.
So do we need to do anything special for them to be able to get the payment in place?
For commercial,
Yeah,
that's up to you if you want to consider extending the deadline like we did last year. We
right.
extended the deadline, I think, a month, and then did 2 months without penalties. You could consider something like that again.
So, yeah, I would definitely think we would want to do that to at least help out the situation.
There's no chance that you have like an average commercial
I don't.
in the 3.
I'm sorry, I can get that
Sorry,
for you.
No, I was just curious.
And the thing is, some of the commercial are Amazon, which
Yeah.
this is like nothing to them.
Mhm.
And some
Wow.
of them are, you know, small businesses on Delaware Street to which this is insignificant.
Yes. But they had to understand because of what happened last year that indirectly theirs went down.
Yeah, I was gonna say. yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So it's now going back to where it should be.
Right.
But again, still an impact.
Yeah, I'm happy to share a percentage increase for each 3 options for commercial rate. If you guys are interested. Option 1 will be 26%. Option 2, 50%, and option 3, 38% on commercial. The other ones are all reductions. Just the context of what Councilperson Zell was saying. I share similar opinion about the burden, you know.
Yeah, I'm more worried about the small businesses than the big ones.
Yes,
You have to
but
treat them all the
that should be
same.
the same. And again, this would be for the commercial side, not for residential.
correct.
Yeah,
This
because
is commercial, industrial, utility, we had to group them all together.
Right.
But because no matter which option, the residential would go down.
Correct. Which I'm sure the residential property owners would do.
Yes.
I just want to be clear that if we do extend your timeline, we'll extend it for everyone. You can't just, the system won't allow me just to do.
Just for
commercial.
businesses.
Yeah, cause
I
it,
got you.
when I run late fees, it's gonna pick up anyone that's late.
Oh, okay.
So that would have to be system overhaul to change, not like something you change in settings.
I don't think you can change that.
Gotcha.
That would be the software company, I don't think.
That's what I'm saying, it would
Yeah.
be getting vendor to get you whole new
If they-
system, like,
yeah.
yeah.
But if they contacted you, we still offer payment plans, I'm assuming?
Yes,
Yeah.
on a case by case basis.
They'll still
That's
get the
what I
late
thought.
fee, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, we can certainly be flexible with them if they contact us, particularly the smaller ones.
Can
Yeah,
we contact the vendor to see if that's something they can do?
I can, but it's.
We can, but I don't
it's
know-
not- They don't single out just us. It's a whole software thing.
Not only
It's just
that,
maybe
I
a
just,
parameter or something.
but not only that, I don't know that we should make that definition. Don't know that that's the. Right.
If I want to go back to this, that we don't have enough, if I understood you correctly. We don't have our 6 months in reserve
Correct.
under any of these three options?
Because we don't currently have it.
Right, now, if we chose option 2, then the entire unrestricted reserves could stay there. And so that would be what is it, 1 million something? And the 844,000 could become part of the reserves,
The unrestricted.
unrestricted reserves, to be our backup or emergency funding or rainy day fund or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And the residential tax rate would still go down. The commercial rate would go up. But it's gonna go up under whichever option. It would go up the most under that option, I think.
Right, that's the largest impact of the commercial.
Right. But that would enable us to be more financially secure by reserving a reserve fund. If that
So can I-
entire 844,000 was added to our existing unrestricted reserves as our reserve fund.
My question there was, so I see budget stabilization is 4,058,000 and 4.37 is 6 months that you're projecting here. So like, do we move 310,000 or whatever the difference is to that to make that 6 months? I think that's what we were trying to do with budget stabilization ordinance to have 6 months.
Well, that's a question. Yeah, you did not count any of those things.
No, I didn't.
As our reserves because they're restricted.
They're restricted.
But the entire purpose of restricting them was to be our reserve fund.
6 months, yeah.
So do we still need 6 months in addition to that? Or do we need a total of 6 months between? And the 4,058,000 that's currently in the budget stabilization fund is about half,
Yeah, I would like to see it at half,
right? But that is nearly half,
if you include the unrestricted and the,
right?
In the budget
that
stabilization.
fund.
Yeah, I think that's what we.
I think we should-
That was every year in that fund and.
To just have that sit there and not count towards our reserves when that's the entire
Think it should be,
point of
yeah.
having it.
No, absolutely. I just I would prefer to see it funded at least 6 months. ago.
Right, so, but the 4.05 million is almost half.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it is half because our budget's 8 million.
Well, it's right here on page 3, I think there's the half of item for right now.
Half is 4.3.
Let's say.
Okay, but if we added in the million in the unrestricted reserves that we project that we'll have at the end of the fiscal year, that would bring us over 6 months in
Mhm.
reserves.
Yes. If we added in the million from it.
If they added in the million, well, no, this total actual unrestricted funds of 1,818,487. You said that did not include the 800,000, right?
No, that includes it.
That includes the.
So that includes the monthly.
Yeah, that's what we have unrestricted. What I was saying, I didn't include the transfer tax. I wasn't specifying where we were getting any additional money for the other side of this
Oh, okay.
presentation,
Yeah.
for
So
the
this
restricted
1880
cash.
has-
Right, the 1818, the one.
1,000,000.8.
I didn't
Okay.
think it was there.
No, I didn't either.
I
No.
know, I was
Okay.
with you.
But nonetheless, if we chose option 2, I'm just trying to understand this. Then between the unrestricted reserves that we have, the 1.8, et cetera, and the money in our budget stabilization fund, we would more than meet our goal of having 6 months in reserves.
By 1.5.
We would still be able to lower the residential tax rate a little bit, not a lot, but still lower it.
Correct.
And we would be raising the commercial rate.
Correct.
I'm trying to get the big picture here.
And
5 times 30. This is 5% increase. And last option is 30. If we went with option 3, just thinking out loud the same way, right? Like, so 460,000 roughly, let's say. It would still lower even further residential.
Right.
Increase commercial still, obviously, because we're.
And
trying to get that.
if you added that,
That would be about 1 point, 3
If we added the
million
456 to the
fund.
5,686,000, we'd be over half as well, right?
Mhm.
Or 4,058 plus that 456, yeah, that would be, no, well, it would be roughly 50%, right?
Doing option 3 would reduce further impact on residential tax rate, but also the commercial as well. So
Right, reduce commercial impact and still let us have the 50% or 6 months in reserves.
they keep it more by you.
I mean, with option 3 is, you know, can we cut that 456 somehow? I mean, not the whole thing, but is there things that
We could cut it if we took out the bond bill options that we're trying to fund. But then we risk not funding those projects.
If we don't get the bond bill.
Correct.
Oh, so that's another conversation to have. How much of property tax would be waived if we get the funds, but we're taxing people for it and not.
But then,
But
No,
we're
I-
talking
No,
about
I
shifting,
understand.
we're talking about shifting, if we get the bond bill money, then we could shift those things,
Mhm.
those funds into other things that still need to be done, but we didn't want to bump up the budget too much by putting them in this year.
yeah, I mean, the bond bill request was at least $4 million between all the street repairs and all the special projects that we put in. We didn't even touch on adding any of those funds for street repairs to the general fund. So, I mean, I don't know what will be funded. Last year, we did not get any streets funded. So if maybe some special projects got funded, we could fund streets in lieu of.
Right, because there's certainly street work that needs to be done.
Correct. That hasn't been done, since it's been on the request since last
And
year.
I mean, do you remember roughly what proportion of our ask for the bond bill we got last year? I mean, 50%,
Of the ask.
30%, 80%, whatever.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head,
Okay,
but it was the largest ask is for street repairs.
right.
So, we definitely got less than half, if not more than that.
Okay, so if we again don't get any money for street repairs, but we do, because the philosophy of the legislature seems to be, well, you get municipal street aid, so we're not gonna put street repairs in your bond bill grant. So if we get grants for some of these other things, we could shift those funds to street repairs.
Right.
Because there's no street repair money in this projected budget, right?
Just the 25,000 for phase day.
Right, which is a drop in the bucket of the things that are
Yeah,
needed.
that's not.
We do have, carried forward MSA. I
We do.
believe that a portion of that.
Yeah, we
can
have
be
some of
used.
that carried
We
forward.
can use that, but it's not gonna get us nearly
No, I'm not saying
to
that,
completion.
yeah.
So to me, that would be our backup plan if, for whatever money we've put in the budget that is subsequently covered by bond bill money, would be to put that into street repairs, because there are certainly street repairs that are needed.
So I'm doing that, guys. Surprise, surprise.
That's fine.
So I'm explaining myself. So I'm looking at this, total actual restricted 1.8 million that we were just talking about. And I have basically things that we did with ordinance for capital funds, as we're talking about improvements and budget. We said like surplus revenue would split 75% of capital improvements, 25 to budget stabilization, which just out of that number, if it stays the same, would be $1,360,000 for capital improvement funds. So like, as we talk about, what would be in that fund in addition to what's there, and 454,000 to budget stabilization. Now, if we put, I just made a quick estimate of, I put aside $500,000 we contribute towards the budget gap. That would equal to 988,000, 989,000 capital fund and 330,000 in the budget stabilization, which is the number we're talking about. It will be needed minimum to have that 6 months in budget stabilization fund. To have 6 months. So just throwing that out there as a
I'm not sure what your starting point was.
1.8 million.
No, I mean, all right, you started with
Yes.
that and then you did
And then
what?
75% the capital improvement.
So you're saying we're not
25%.
gonna, oh, just that's
Like
where
just,
we would put it.
just if we went with the ordinance, how it is, obviously it's for discussion. The ordinance says that, but it's basically also saying we discuss and
It
figure
would
out where
be
it goes. But if
in
we did
there
it by
for-
that, that's how it would go. And then, as projects come from
To
bond
make,
bill.
to make up our 6 months, 6 months or half the budget. Okay, now I
And
understand.
500 is more than what's proposed in option 3, I believe, but I just rounded for ease of math.
Mhm.
So just saying, even if we did contribute $500,000 to the gap, we would still be able to add money into, but from that remaining funds,
And
25 would be
Right.
enough to cover 6 months of that new budget. And
and
75 to
have
still
our
have
reserve.
around $1 million added to capital projects.
Have our reserve budget that we need.
And that would be added to 1.125 million we already have in capital, so we would have about 2 million capital fund.
Just remember, we can't make those deposits to the other funds until we start getting, we have to, basically what I'm saying is we have to, utilize, the unrestricted funds for the first few months of the budget, because if we don't get any tax.
I understand, I'm just,
Yep.
talking about it, payments are gonna come
Yeah.
through.
Right.
Just,
They will.
you know,
I just wanted to.
trying to
Right,
put
'cause
this in that lens,
Yeah,
kinda
the
like-
tax revenue doesn't start coming in until September, October.
But we were talking about moving that funds into higher earning. None of these two, but right, like that was a conversation we had.
Oh, yeah, we were gonna put that 844 in. We we were gonna put it in one of these funds to get the higher interest, yeah.
Cause we were talking, we don't wanna wait till the audit or whatever
Right,
timeline prescribed. What I'm worried about personally is not this year, because obviously we had a large sale of property. But it almost seems like $1 million increase from year to year in our expenses that. It's rather challenging to, collect that much more every year. So I'm curious to see what the growth is every year as we have these new contracts in place. To see that hopefully lowers down,
Right,
because
well,
this
yes.
is initial increase, but. And obviously we'll have some new properties being built, so there's probably more revenue on property taxes and stuff, but.
Or not, they get the 5-year tax abatement.
But still, like, I guess I'm trying to think through in my head. Are we growing faster than we can
Well, we're gonna add,
collect revenue?
50 houses in Riverbend alone this year, right?
yeah, because they've already cut their permits.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So,
Plus they have more to go, so.
mhm.
that's a good point.
At least
Yes,
we have that for the
there's
next
some
year.
revenue.
I mean, it's not huge, but it is still,
Yeah, well,
I mean, it's
well-
still burning.
It's part of compilation, it's part of each side. And I guess Buttonwood has been having several
Mhm.
projects over the years too. adding-
And I think what you'll see in Buttonwood is to continue to develop and redevelop too.
Mhm.
So is there an option everyone's leaning more towards, or do you not wanna? You wanna
I
think
definitely
on
like
it?
option 3, to be honest.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my favorite
Better.
option.
Okay.
Yeah, now that I realize that we could still keep the reserves that we need to be financially stable, lower residential property taxes,
Even more, yeah.
and,
And we're still financially stable, I mean.
Right.
I think we owe it to the taxpayers too, to be smart with the money,
right,
Right, okay. So I did, prepare the ordinance to approve the budget. And I have it on this agenda for our first reading. Obviously, the numbers are extremely inflated when you read
right,
ordinance, so I just want.
That's only for timing purposes, right?
That's for
To
timing.
be able to
Because
modify
we have to
later.
have a public hearing. And, this has to be
Right,
properly
but-
noticed and all of that, so I would,
and we can lower this, but we couldn't raise it, which is
Right.
why we have to give greatly inflated numbers in this ordinance.
Yeah,
Remember that.
that's what we learned last year.
Right. So, actually, we've sort of discussed item 4 on the agenda as part of the others. And it's kind of hard to separate them, but we've discussed the budget stabilization fund and the capital improvement fund and how we would disperse. So we kind of covered that. And so, if we just proceed in sequence, we would now talk about the charter change, or do you want to jump ahead and consider ordinance or have the first reading of 566 And then we'll come back and pick up the other discussions. Does
Yeah,
that make sense?
I think that makes the most sense.
Okay. So I will
Do we
read.
want 6 as well, or are we gonna talk about it more?
Oh, yeah, we're just jumping ahead and then coming back to item 5. So we're jumping ahead to item 8 and then we'll return to item 5. So ordinance, this is the first reading of ordinance 566. An ordinance to establish a property tax rate increase and to adopt the fiscal year 2027 budget. Whereas the council of the city of Newcastle, city council possesses the authority to adopt, amend, modify, or repeal the city of Newcastle municipal code, city code. And whereas section 18 of the charter for the city of Newcastle provides that, quote, the council shall on or before the first Monday in each July meet and ascertain as near as may be the amount necessary to cover the net expenses of the government. Council shall proceed to levy a tax on the real property thus valued and assessed in just portions sufficient to cover the aggregate of said budget, end quote. And whereas section 18 of the charter for the city of Newcastle entitled 22, section 1107 of the Delaware Code authorizes the city to establish different tax rates for residential and non-residential properties. And whereas the city administrator has presented the proposed fiscal year 2027 general fund and grant budget to the city council members, the mayor, and the city treasurer. And whereas the mayor and city council members have advertised and held public meetings to discuss and make appropriate changes to the proposed budgets. And whereas the fiscal year 2027 general fund budget is balanced at $10 million and contains proposed wage adjustments for city employees. And whereas the fiscal year 2027 grant budget is balanced at $10 million. And whereas the general budget and grant budget are to be managed by the city administrator. Now therefore making the express finding that the provisions of this ordinance enhance and promote the health, safety, and welfare of the city of Newcastle, be it ordained by the council of the city of Newcastle as follows. Effective July 1, 2026, the property tax rate shall be 0.75 per 100 of assessed value for residential properties, reflecting a 49.9% tax rate increase from the previous rate, and 0.75 per $100 of assessed value for non-residential properties, reflecting a 49.9% tax rate increase from the previous rate. Section 2. That the fiscal year 2027 total city budget is adopted at $20 million. Section 3. If any section, subsection, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is for any reason held to be unconstitutional or invalid, such decision shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of the ordinance. Section 4. In the event of any existing ordinances or parts of ordinances are in conflict herewith, the provisions of this ordinance shall control. Section 5, this ordinance shall become effective immediately upon its adoption and approval. So that's the first reading.
And like I said, it's mostly important. Before we move on to the next item, so do you want to go over any more of the contribution requests in detail? Or are you okay with all of them? Do you want me to read them aloud?
I just wanted to ask you about the ordinance,
Mhm.
just clarifying, while we still have time, if we do need to make a change.
Yes.
The proposed, obviously, these are inflated numbers.
Yeah.
But it's 49.9, assuming the highest option we're seeing here.
It's not, it was just the last year's increase. Do I need to increase it more?
I don't think so. I think we left out because the option two is 50% tax increase. So it would be 0.1. Very lower, but obviously, just was curious if that was derived as a highest option, but it seems like it wasn't. We're gonna clear if we go with option 3, it's 38% increase, but pending these conversations. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think you're fine. Okay.
I have one question on the grant funding.
Mhm. Contribution?
Yes, sorry about that. Could you or have you reached out to the Bull Hill Boat Club? to see if they're interested?
I did, and I have not heard back.
Okay. Just want to make sure we're, from an equity standpoint, reaching out to all the different various organizations in our community.
Yeah, I
So
did
we can
reach
make
out.
sure that at least to the point that they're aware.
Yeah, I haven't heard back.
So in my mind, the only thing outstanding in this is the potential for the Buttonwood School contribution to be phased. If, depending on your
Yes, and then if I.
they're waiting,
possible, no,
and they're waiting for their
they're
but-
contractor.
their contractor.
Mhm.
But, I mean, to be honest, did we give them a deadline? For Bull Hill,
We did,
and it's
did.
passed?
yes.
I mean,
Sorry.
you were back, now go ahead.
Going back to the councilman's question, I think we had this issue last year too. So I think when you're calculating the percentages,
Mhm.
and this may affect how you present your grossly inflated
Inflated.
numbers. So if you go from a 0.3564 rate to a 0.75 rate, that's 110%.
But that's not what I'm calculating. I'm talking about
What about the
percentage.
5.3?
Pardon?
What if we go to option 3, which was the 0.53?
I think that's different. So I think what you're reading is per $100. What we're seeing here is tax rate.
But that's the same thing.
Yeah, so if this is comparing it to the previous rate, and the previous rate is 0.3564, and you're going to 0.7.
Yes, you're right. The percentage is incorrect here compared to 356, yes.
Yeah, that's 110.
Neither one of these options are 0.75. I think the percentage is more accurate than the number. Like the highest percentage would be option 2. And just let me get to that. 0.535.
Right,
Compared to 0.3, it's 50%. So that's why I was saying, like, that's the only one that would be. So 0.75 covers us because percentages in it just needs to adjust, but I think in a final version will be right.
Right, but, correct, so the rate, you have a different, so the 0.75 gives you enough room in whatever option, which is why it's there, and I get that. These percentages are wrong though, so these
Yes.
percentages need to be changed to reflect it. My recommendation, or what you might want to consider is, even though you all are clear that this is set at a grossly inflated number for the purposes of discussion, and 0.75 is selected because you want to make sure there's enough room with the option 2, which has you at 0.536. So it gives you enough room. Understand that. What this ordinance should say is that it reflects a 110% increase.
Okay,
And you need to be clear with your messaging that this is a placeholder, and that's not what you're proposing. But when you have increases out there that are 110%, that can be taken as something it's not. And so I just, you might want to consider this.
Fair point.
Are you saying that we need to make a clerical correction to the ordinance to change the final sentence of section 1 to say for the commercial reflecting, instead of 49.9, it should be 110
It's 110 for both.
for both?
They're both at 7%.
And then to that point is, if you could see if there's a way when you post it,
Mhm.
to put
to put it in.
draft pending, like a watermark.
Yeah, there is one.
Across.
table, yeah.
And then if there's a way to do like an asterisk,
Yeah.
represents inflated due to other pending items, something like that for the public,
Sure,
and
Yeah,
the website.
Can the first page be that? Like before even people open ordinance, the first page
Sure.
out of the 3, let's say, is big letters,
yeah,
numbers presented below or just placeholders.
right.
So do we need to do something to the resolution?
Do we need
tonight?
to have a motion to make the amendment?
yeah.
I would, because you just read it. I would.
So is there a motion to change the percent tax rate increase shown in section 1 for both residential and commercial from 49.9 to 110%
For purposes of the first reading.
for the purposes of the first reading?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so it's 110%. And 110%.
Thanks for checking on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, is there any further discussion of the contribution requests? Okay. So now we're back to item 5 on the agenda, which is the resolution requesting the charter change for lodging and short-term rental tax. Do we need to read this and then discuss it? Resolution 26-31, a resolution requesting an amendment to the City of Newcastle Municipal Charter authorizing the City of Newcastle to levy and collect a lodging and short-term rental tax of no more than 3%. Whereas the Council of the City of Newcastle, City Council, is vested with all legislative powers of the City of Newcastle. And whereas the City Council is committed to promoting the health, safety, and general welfare of the City of Newcastle in perpetuity. And whereas City Council's ability to meet its obligations to the City of Newcastle under its municipal charter and Delaware law depends on the presence of stable funding sources for municipal purposes. And whereas the Council of the City of Newcastle has been evaluating different mechanisms to raise revenue for municipal purposes. And whereas following the discussion at a duly noticed City Council meeting, the City Council has agreed that the following changes to the City of Newcastle Municipal Charter are prudent to ensure that there remain adequate tools for the City Council to meet its present and future obligations in promoting the health, safety, and general welfare of the City of Newcastle. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Newcastle that the Delaware General Assembly is hereby respectfully requested to amend Section 11, Municipal Power of the Municipal Charter of the City of Newcastle as amended, by adding text as shown by underlining as follows. AB, Section AB, to impose and collect a lodging tax of no more than 3% of the rent, in addition to the amount imposed by the state for the occupancy of any room or rooms in a hotel, motel, or tourist home, as defined under Chapter 61 of Title 30, which is located within the boundaries of the City of Newcastle. Section AC, to impose and collect a short-term rental lodging tax of no more than 3% of the rent, in addition to the amount imposed by the state for the occupancy of any short-term rental as defined under Chapter 62 of Title 30, which is located within the boundaries of the City of Newcastle. We did discuss this somewhat last year, I think, but Mr. Matterway, did you have anything you wanted to say about it?
Thank you, Council President, to everyone here today and to the residents. This order of this meeting actually flowed pretty well, and it ties into this. Item, we just talked about proportionality in regard to residents and commercial properties. So if this council or any council throughout the state were to impose differential rates for residential versus commercial, there's actually a gap. And the gap is for people who rent out their homes, and this council approved unanimously up to 365 days out of the year in which someone could rent out their home, which is effectively a business. But if you have the two residential rates, if you have the residential rate and the commercial rate, that residential property is run as a business, but it's taxed as a residence. And so you potentially could have someone who is running a business, right? And they're paying a residential rate. I don't knock anybody's hustle, but I will tell you, I've gone throughout town over many years and I've talked with people, and I'm not going to say their names, but I'll call them Sally Senior, Mike the mechanic, and Pam the parent. And what they have emphatically said is that they just want tourists to pay and contribute in some way. There was an article that actually hit the News Journal today that mentioned Newcastle Courthouse as probably the most historic building in the state. And it's in our city. Right now, we have mechanisms in which the county and the state are getting money off of stays in our city, and we are not. We are just reading in a potential budget that may grow up to $1 million, and it's only going to continue to grow. And so I don't think it's equitable. I don't think it's a diverse income stream for us to not recognize that we live in a historic town with a great history and tradition, and history is tourism. The First State National Park talks about how over $10 million come into the gateway because of tourism. Delaware State is big on tourism, and they talk about how much money comes to the state. This is a growth mechanism. Yes, it's 3% now, but I believe it will grow. Just like DMV fees have grown, the state has increased those. Just like state park entrance fees, it will grow over time. We're uniquely positioned right down Route 9. The Kirkwood Soccer Club is investing millions of dollars into that. And I want them to stay in the city of Newcastle, but I want them to pay. And that's okay. The airport is growing. And we can attract people to our town. We can actually attract a hotel. I've read somewhere in a timeless book that said, people perish without vision. So yes, this is low right now, but this is a vision forward. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, one of my challenges as well is, like, as we look at the revenue, like there's nothing directly tied to tourism and, I don't see, like I've spoken last year how, when you book Airbnb, that fee comes up to you and just pay it as part of the experience. So I don't think this necessarily, in my argument, I think against hurting businesses, because I don't know, I was just doing the math here while Councilperson Mataway was talking, and I don't even know what the average stay is, like how much it costs but if it's like at 3%, if it's $100, that's $3. If it's 200, that's $6, and 300, that's $9. So I was just doing the math as a visitor, like you're not gonna not book a unit if it's $6 added to your $200 bill already. So that's just kind of what was driving my decision, and it's just one of those. I think signals that can help us supplement the revenue going forward for all these increases, that we're seeing. Some of it due also to tourism, so like, more wear and tear and everything. So those are my initial thoughts.
Mr. Davis, was that?
I just had a couple thoughts. One is I'm not opposed to new revenue streams, and I don't think this tax would stop someone from staying here. My worry is the amount collected is not going to equal the cost to collect it. So Antonine, I'm interested to know, one, if you have any idea of the amount we will collect, and two, how much we would spend on an employee, on a database, legal costs, anything else we would need to collect it. That's my bigger worry, is that we end up upside down on this.
Yeah, I don't know how much we could bring in off the top of my head in terms of actual practicality of how we would oversee it. We would probably have to build out another module within our system to account for that.
But our system will account for it now? Our database will?
I think that we could talk to the company and figure out how to make it work.
So you mean when you say new modules, like basically like as you get property tax, that's one module collection? Like then you would have another revenue.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So when we were in Dover a couple of weeks ago, the Delaware League of Local Government,
Yeah, we could figure it out in our system as it is.
there was a Dewey Beach commissioner. And this question came up with Lieutenant Governor Kyle Evans Gay. And during the break, he actually mentioned that there is a representative in Dover who is this year or next year will be bringing forward an ordinance, law in which require the third-party vendors that collect for the state to also collect for municipalities. Presently, right now, with all the municipalities that have them, what they do is similar. What they do in regards to the gross rentals. They have a form that has to be submitted, and it's validated versus, hey, did someone submit anything at the annual renewal of the issuance of the license?
So they do. So they just check once a year or review. Is that what you heard, sir?
Well, they say that they
Just
issue
thinking
the
about your
payments,
cost.
they issue the payments on a monthly basis, right? Then it becomes, hey, you know, when someone's reviewing, to issue a license, hey, how many employees did they have? Did they provide proof of insurance or bond surety?
Mhm.
In regards to short-term or lodging, it would be, have they submitted any receipts in regards to monies that they've collected? I've spoken with one of the proprietors about this over a year ago, and he's like, yeah, like, I don't care. It's, you know, it's 3%, like, city needs money, take it.
So can I go back to the first part that Councilperson Day is asking? So let's say Courtney, I'm not throwing it to you away, but let's say you do it in your current role. So as she's processing the rental application, I would go, or business A would come and say, I have rented my place 200 nights last year. I don't know, and made X amount of money in total. And we would apply 3% to that and come with, let's say, 5,000. I'm just making stuff up. Sorry for numbers, just making up. And then we'll see the receipts and say there's 5,000 matches, gives you a new license. Is that kind of how you explain the process is working?
Well,
Like,
yeah.
but that's not a hard math, I guess.
No, it would be flushed out with any process, right? Like the whole short term went through planning commission, came up with rules and regulations, et cetera. So it would be flushed out in the same way. A little bit over a year ago, we went to the state and asked for variable rates, you might recall, and our system couldn't even do it. We said, hey, can you do industrial? Can you do like industrial commercial? She said, no, I can't.
Yeah.
And we went to the state and asked and got permission. We didn't even know that her system couldn't do it.
Yeah, but the amount of tax money you're talking about will vary.
No,
rates.
no.
So like, I'm looking at this
I'm
and
saying is the
thinking,
questions that we're asking about policy and procedure and how does it get done and can we do it, can we not? That never came up.
it didn't, because it was so much money that it's worth not worrying about the policy and procedure. But when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at us getting $7,000 a year.
Per unit, you mean?
And
Well,
no, just 7,000.
approximately right now, but I believe it'll grow with the airport and with the Kirkwood Soccer Complex throwing $1 million down there. And
I don't disagree, but right now, if we're only gonna get 7,000 for the next 3 years, we're gonna have more employee time in collecting it and processing it and setting up a whole revenue stream for it and policies and procedures than we are gonna collect. I mean, we're gonna be a loser the first few years at least, and that's only the first few years if we get a hotel.
How many units are you assuming and how many units?
I think we're at 50% occupancy is what I've heard.
50% at 12.
Yeah,
Just asking for you.
Units right now.
but you allow for up to 1% of parcels, we allow for up to 1% parcels in our town to have it. If someone rents out their house 365 days out of the year, they're paying this, they would potentially pay the same tax rate as you.
No,
And
wait,
me.
a long-term rental is not the same as a short-term rental. People who rent out their house long-term, they're not governed by this bill because they're not a short-term rental.
He's saying you can rent out short-term 365 days a year, a week at a time if you want.
No. What I'm saying is that someone who is doing an Airbnb is running a business.
Right,
And they would pay the same residential tax rate as everyone at this table.
not necessarily, they don't all live in the houses. Most of them are
I'm
not.
saying whoever, if it's all the houses aren't owned by people, they might be owned by entities. The taxpayer would pay the same rate.
I
And
don't
that's inequitable.
If there's a business license for a property and no one lives there, is that rated as a commercial property or as a residential
That's
property?
not, that's not what I'm arguing.
It's based on the classification, you know.
What I'm saying is, you go ahead, Mr. Zilla.
You're saying that it would be a residential property used for commercial purposes.
I understand Brian,
Right.
I think is arguing there's an inequity about somebody renting a house as a business and us living in our houses. And maybe we clarify that inequity on a rental registration fee. My only point is, I just don't want to lose money on this every year. And if we lose money the first 3 years, like, it doesn't seem like that would be a great idea. But, you know, I'm not even opposed to voting for this, for the charter change. But I can tell you, I wouldn't vote to enact this unless somebody showed me that we're not going to lose money. That's my only, stipulation. As long as we're not going to lose money, I'm fine. But I just look at it and I know employee costs, you know what I mean? and the database and enforcement, if we have to have legal fees to go after somebody, I mean, it's just not a lot of money to go after.
Oh,
That's my only.
Let me-
Mr.
Think
Zell
about
hasn't
that.
said anything yet. Do you have anything to add?
I agree with Joe.
Okay.
I think to Brian's vision forward, this, and to Joe's point, this is just asking for the ability to do this. In terms of enactment, we would have to pursue, future.
Well, I just wanted to be clear that I'm okay, you know what I mean, I would vote for this to go ahead, but I don't wanna enact this if we're gonna lose money on it. I would want to see the city say, this is what it's gonna cost us with employee costs and everything else, and this is how much we think we'll collect.
I just had a follow-up to that. So 12 units. So that's 12 applications, so human cost shouldn't be that much to talk to 12 people, because we're getting the application, it was part of the application process, it seems. So we're already doing that, so that's not, are we collecting already their revenues?
No,
So that would be the only new thing we need, the total revenue, because then we just apply.
We
3%
collect
to
their
that,
business
right?
license fee.
But that's what I'm saying, so
The
we're,
business license fee, but we don't collect a short-term rental fee.
yeah, but they would show you statements, I mean, I'm sure
Right.
they can generate a statement, it shows. And do you already get that? So that would be, so your process would change in getting, asking for statement, annual statement, let's say. Monthly, doesn't matter, and then applying 3% to that. And verifying that you received that, is that
Yeah, most
correct?
likely.
For
we would
12
have to
businesses, but I'm saying for 12 businesses, that's
flush through
probably
the
not that
administrator.
much work.
There are also, in addition to what the Dewey Beach Commissioner indicated, potential pending legislation out of Dover. Through the research over the last year or so, I found municipalities have actually gotten MOUs with the state in which the state actually collects on their behalf. So that's an option as well.
Mhm.
well, and I agree, if the state's gonna collect on our behalf, it may be a little different, but this is my number.
What are you doing for average?
I just did $100.
Oh, 100, okay.
And it could be more or less, but when you do that at half the year, you're collecting $6,480.
Yeah, I did at 150
So-
and 200,
You know,
but I got 9,600 for the 150 and almost 13 at 200. I don't know what they are yet.
I share Joe and Andrew's concerns that this is gonna cost more, or at a minimum, break even. And that's not even getting into enforcement. And if we have the state collect it, we're not gonna get the whole 3%. The
No, we
state
don't.
will, yes, the state takes a fee when they collect our traffic tickets for us. Why would they do this without taking a portion of it to cover their costs?
Because of political pressure from the league of local governments, and there's going to be pending
Well,
legislation. in
if
Dover
it
right now.
hasn't done anything to get us all our traffic ticket revenue, we get what, $7 per traffic ticket or something? For a $50 ticket? Now, they may take more for that because it involves the justice of the peace system and that has more cost to them than this would. But I can't imagine they're not going to take at least 25% of it. But I guess my bottom line is I want more details as to how this would work and how much it would cost before I'm willing to move forward with this. Because when I talked to Senator Poore last year about potential charter changes on this and other subjects, I said, how does the state legislature view it if a municipality is granted permission for a charter change and then does not enact the legislation to go forward with that charter change? And she said they don't look very favorably on it. And so what I'm suggesting is perhaps next year we consider this after we've had a chance to flesh out the details of how much it would cost to collect this money. We're not going to lose very much, if anything, given that we have 12 rental units in town at the moment, and they're rented roughly 50% of the time. And how would it, so it sounds like the system you're envisioning is that they would self-report how many nights they rented and how much they charged. So what would we enforce that, or would we just take everybody's word for it? Do we enforce other tax legislation?
No,
3% of total gross revenue, right?
we would do it the same way municipalities up and down the state do it in regards to gross rental for commercial and residential taxes, and they collect millions of
Well,
dollars.
Rehoboth and Dewey might collect millions, but they
800,000.
have hundreds of rooms, Brian. We have 12. We're not gonna get millions of
No,
dollars.
I'm saying, what I'm saying is if it's a bigger number, the likelihood of people being nefarious is higher. That's the only,
But the 3% for any particular business is the same, whether it's 3% of 100.
ultimately for me, it just doesn't jive well, like I said, when I started, with Sally Senior, Mike the mechanic, and Pam the parent, to have a situation where people, because we know it does happen, it's not pie in the sky, it is happening, to where someone could run a business, and they do, and they pay the same tax rate as someone that lives in the property
But I'm not sure that's the
without a
case.
premium.
But I'm not sure that's the case. For example, the Terry House is a business. That's our largest one. They have 7 rooms that they rent. No one lives there. So it's entirely a business operation. So you probably don't know off the top of your head if that's rated as a commercial property.
Packet Alley. No one lives in Packet Alley.
No one lives at Packet
Yeah,
Alley.
so that's
So
one right there.
are
They-
those
They would
great-
pay the same, they're residential
I
property.
don't, that's my question, Brian. You're presuming that they're rated residential. I don't know. That's my question. Do you know how they're rated?
Look up.
Can I ask you my question while we, as I'm reading resolution, is the 3% in, as you read that, off of a state? Like 3 9 state, 3% of that, or is that equal also 3% of total revenues that a business has in a month? Like that is renting revenue, which I think is the same. Right, so like if you rent, let's simplify, $1,000 a month, we would collect $30 off of that. So we would get monthly statements or annual statements. I don't know the frequency of how other cities do it, but that's, to me, I'm simplifying it. I'm trying to figure out what the process would be, so I don't know if you can help me with that.
The process would be whatever you make the process. What this would do is this would authorize you to collect 3% of rent, whether that's on a monthly, yearly, or however the state does it. I don't know how the state does it. But
Mhm.
all this is the enabling legislation that authorizes you to collect that 3%. You would then have to enact it
Like quarterly.
to whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever that makes.
Set up the
I mean,
process.
it doesn't make sense to get, like, to verify how many stays people had, but like, whatever frequency we decide on the statement to say, here's how much we made on this property. And then we apply 3% to that and charge them that. I think that seems pretty easy to verify. I wouldn't like challenge. I'm guessing they wouldn't lie.
So, when I was in Townsend, we had, we talked about this last year, we had certain business licenses that were based on gross receipts.
Mhm.
And they would have to send us the receipts,
Yeah.
and you could get them like to sign a sworn statement and get that notarized or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah,
And they just did it, right? It wasn't like
I mean,
extra laborious.
so really,
Like anything,
Courtney would
you
get
have to
12
fix that.
different statements, 12 different numbers that you apply 3% on. You'll live on, I guess. But I don't know how much time that is, so.
It looks like the Terry House is historic commerce,
yes.
if it's 202 Delaware
So
Street.
that would be.
I think
commercial.
that's the address. You got 130? I'm sorry.
So that's not residential then, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
It's commercial.
So would pay the higher rate.
That's not the property I referenced.
I know, but that's more than half of the units in our town right now. That's 7 of our 12 are at the Terry
No,
House.
they're not. Remember, they were separate on that ordinance. They were not.
But no, they have 7 rooms, is what I'm saying.
I know, but they were not part of that short-term rental.
They weren't, but I
No,
think
because they're
overall,
in
what
the
we were
commercial.
saying is there was over 12 units available
Yeah, right,
completely
right.
between the Terry House and between the Airbnbs.
Right. And the 1% limit does not apply to the historic commercial area, but the historic commercial area is so small, there's not much room for too much else to happen there anyway. The 1% limit is in all the other districts, and in the historic residential, I think it would allow for 2 more. And as far as I know, there's been no movement for any more to open from the ones that are already in existence. So of the 12 current units we have that are short-term rentals this would apply to, more than half of them are in a building that is taxed at the commercial basis. So your equity issue is not as certain. It may apply to some of the others, but I'm not aware that any of them are in a building that are owner occupied and they get a business license for their business. So I don't know all the addresses off the top of my head to check to see how they're rated as commercial or residential property. I just don't think we have enough information to know whether this is a practical thing that would actually make money for the city. And yes, we may grow in the future, but I don't think we're gonna see a sudden burst of growth in the next year. And so what I would suggest is that we need to get more information and perhaps revisit this next year. And we should start in January or February because it's already June 1st and the legislative session ends in 29 days and they have a pretty packed agenda. I think we have a better chance of getting this through the state legislature if we give them more notice and we have a clearer idea of where we're going with it, rather than send this in tomorrow, say, oh, please rush this through, and then we don't even adopt the enabling legislation. I don't think that puts us in a good light with the state legislature.
Well, I think the state legislature, I respect everyone, but I can tell you that they have put in legislation that doesn't respect local government. They don't allow local governments or counties to get anything from marijuana money, yet they're in our communities. They actually are trying to force housing legislation without the input from counties and from municipalities up and down the state. Newcastle County Council actually adopted a resolution in which they said that they are going to go to the state and say, you guys are not communicating with us or inviting us at the table.
Okay,
And so,
that's as it may be, but I don't see that as related to this. So you're mad at the state and the county, so you want this because it doesn't connect to me. To me, it's a different issue. I know that the housing bill is, I guess it's been introduced. It hasn't even been through committee, so who knows where it'll go. The League of Local Governments is on record as being opposed to it. So we don't know what's going to happen with that. I think we need to make this decision as to whether we think it's the best thing for our city at this point in time. And my view is we don't have enough information right now to make that decision.
I understand, I respect it. I would like to move for a vote on this.
Okay. All in favor of resolution? We need a second. He made a motion
Second.
and you made a second. Okay. All in favor, I guess, given that there's clearly some difference of opinion, we should do this by roll call of resolution 2026-31.
Council President Susan Souter,
No.
Councilperson Joseph Day,
Yes.
Councilperson Andrew Zelt,
No.
Councilperson Nerman Zubaka,
Yes.
Councilperson Brian Mataway.
Yes.
All right, so the resolution's adopted 3-2. Okay, the next item was the discussion regarding the transfer of the tax from the sale of Junior's Landing. We sort of have covered this as part of our budget discussion, I think. Is there anything else to discuss about that?
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay. And then the final one before public comments is discussion of the potential impact fee. What's the bottom? Oh, it's not a resolution.
No.
It's a
There's
discussion.
no discussion.
No, it's already-
Whether or not it's to be incorporated into the budget, right?
Yeah, we already have code.
So,
Sorry, what you saying?
I'm saying there's impact fee code already that we can.
we don't need a charter
That-
change
yeah,
for
yeah.
impact fee.
So
So
This
this
is whether or not we want to fund it in the budget.
from the study, the $50,000 in this, I think that's the estimated cost.
50,200? Hold on one second, I have it pulled up. $50,270.
Okay, so roughly 50. To fund a study regarding the possibility of impact fees. Mr. Hoffman provided us with a detailed memorandum about impact fees, what they are, what they can be, what they can't be. Mr. Mataway, I guess since you brought this up, I'll see if you let you start and see if you have anything to say about this.
Council President. Of course, everyone has to say I respect and appreciate. Last year I went to Dover and talk about, some potential charter changes in Dover. And, at the conclusion of that, meeting, I was approached by Republicans and Dems who said, we need impact fees in the city of Newcastle. Not only was I approached by Republicans and Dems, there was one of the most famous housing advocates in the state of Delaware, on the recorded line on Zoom, said, we need impact fees. After hearing the presentation around everything, that was the consensus. Again, from Dems and Republicans, that's what they said. Sorry, I just have one other thing here I want to add to that. Sorry. So, this council has done a lot of great things. We've created, the capital improvement plan. We've created the capital improvement fund. We're trying to get equity and balance around tax burdens. Without a mechanism to ensure that new development pays its fair share, the above is null and void. I think hopefully we all can agree that, not having impact fees, has been a detriment to the city in the past, that it currently is a detriment, and assuredly it will be a detriment in the future. I think that, all councils, I think everyone means well and everything is fluid. But for example, right now, we're dealing with 16 years of no tax increases. We're dealing with no accounts outside of checking and savings accounts. And we're trying our best. And not having impact fees fits that same void. If someone were to go to public policy school at the University of Delaware, they would talk about impact fees and how necessary it is. I believe that not having impact fees is tantamount to a lack of public trust, and it actually can be viewed as a breach of fiduciary duty, because we are charged here to protect and preserve the future rights and benefits of future generations. In regards to funding, this can be funded. I've found a few different ways. Actually, Ms. Tantillo found it one way a couple of months ago when she allocated the budget in regards to some uniforms and things of that nature. She found a way there. That's an option. We can actually use the current impact fees from Riverbend. Riverbend has generated actually over $200,000 of impact fees, or close to that amount. Those monies can be used or apportioned for this. Interest accruals from the capital reserve or budget stabilization. The last several months since we've had that, interest has been in excess of $10,000 each month. ARPA funds is a way in which a portion of that can be used. Excess real estate transfer taxes that we received from the Helm and Deemer's Landing could be potentially be used. And then finally, they could be offset by the lodging and short-term rental tax. So if we're getting $7,000 a year from that, take that times 5 years, and that's a significant chunk of your impact fees. The charter allows for it. The comprehensive plan cross-references it. And there's a tremendous opportunity for growth in the city. I believe in the city, and I know we have many open lots and places for development, redevelopment, et cetera. So I think this is good use of public funds.
Comments from others?
My one comment was already answered, so
I guess after reading Mr. Hoffman's memorandum detailing what impact fees may be charged for and may not be charged for, I don't see that we'd have a wide range of them available, but I guess that would be the point of the study. I mean, they're primarily used for roads, water, sewer, stormwater, and the like. Well, water and sewer, if there had to lay new pipes for water, those fees would go to the MSC. They're not city fees. The sewer, the fees would go to the county because we're on the county system. Stormwater management, that might be a city issue.
And roads.
And roads, if we
Yeah.
had to lay new public roads.
Correct.
I mean, within the development, like Riverbend, they built their own roads, right? So we're not, if the city's not providing the item, we can't charge an impact fee for it. And it can't be ongoing operational expenses. It has to be one-time expenses related to the new development. Is that correct?
Yes, that's my
Um,
understanding.
so, and, you know, we talked about as the population grows, we need more police, but we can't apply impact fees to police salaries. The one thing that occurred to me that it might be possible is when we hire a new police officer, we have to equip them, we have to send them to the academy. And that's a one-time investment that we make in a new police officer. So that's a potential impact fee. But, you know, when 12 new houses go up, that doesn't mean you need a new police officer. This has to be some basis in the ratio of officers to population. But again, I guess that's what the point of the study would be, to let us know what's available.
Can I add a question to what you just said to Mike? And feel free to say, I don't know, because I understand this is tricky. So what Council President just said is a great example of what I have a question of. So police, new one-time things you have to fund for them is a good example. The part of that fee, my understanding was, but please correct me if I'm wrong, would be contributing towards that next higher need. Like, because that assessment would say, like, split that new fee, whatever the needs are, I don't know, more parks, more whatever, that would have to be added per X amount of building, and that would split it out across and make that fee. Is that fair assessment? If it's too vague.
Yeah, the challenge with impact fees, of course, is there's no clear formula. Under the law, you have to show your math. You have to show your rationale, you have to show your basis for it for an eligible expense. An eligible expense, very, very generically, is just in the name, is that development, to the extent it causes an impact, causes you to incur costs, there has to be a tie to that. And so maybe is the answer. It's not the answer you're looking for, but you know, it's if you can show the math that it fits that category, it's maybe.
Yeah, I can't remember. I was sitting in a meeting with this firm years ago when they initially talked to us about this. So I can't remember, but there was some sort of math that they conduct that splits this, because obviously no one developer should pay for all of it. It's just basically trying to make it as rational as possible to say, here's how you back up that $100, $3,000, whatever that fee might end up being. So you know what you need as a city to spend it.
So I think what you're asking is, could each new house, let's say, single family home, if they would contribute to a fund that we would have to keep separate of the impact of new development, and then when enough new people moved into town that we needed a new police officer, we could then draw from that fund to pay those one-time onboarding expenses for getting a new police officer. Is that accurate?
I think that's the concept.
That's what I'm asking about. But
And so the question, that was in the details.
And how you do the math to figure out what each development's share is. But that's down the road after the study, and see what they come up with, right?
There's also, currently the only impact fee that's assessed is Riverbend. And a portion of that goes towards Goodwill Fire Company. So that is an eligible expense. And also from an equity standpoint, you know, I don't think it's equitable that Riverbend is the only new development that pays this type of improvement to the city. There's also parks and libraries as potential types of impact fees that places pay. And to be clear, when we talk about new development, we're not talking about all new development. So it could be a home, it could be an accessory dwelling unit. It doesn't have to be what we've seen, 500 apartments. It can look and take the face of different things.
Well, that's where you get your contributing a portion that would go into the fund for when you cross the threshold
Yeah,
of population growth to add to the library or bring on a new police officer or build a new park or whatever.
And just to be clear, I mean, Riverbend agreed to that when they were
Right.
developed. That was
Right.
part of
And
the
it's a
agreement,
voluntary fee.
the
It's not a-
development agreement, so it wasn't the
So
city.
that is not an impact fee in the sense that these would be impact fees. I know we call them that, but is that what they really are?
it's a
I think theirs is a
voluntary-
voluntary contribution.
That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, from, I guess, policy, since we're arguing that, to me, I'll be curious to know, what are these one-time fees that currently, as new things are developed, we are paying somehow, right? So, because it comes in our expenses somewhere, it shows. So that's the part that it's hard for me to ignore. And I have no idea what Riverbend, like what that number would be compared to Riverbend, higher, lower, I can't even speculate the same, so I can't even say this year is $174,000 over 50 houses. I don't know what we said 60 maybe. Like if we had 60 other developments, like or units, would that be resolved the same? But like that would be $174,000. We would come after if we didn't have this voluntary thing, that would be presumably impact fee. We would have to come up with somewhere in our revenue for this budget or any other budget. So those are kind of obviously I have no idea what the fee would be. Or if they come up and say there is no fee needed, like.
What is the cost of the study again? How much?
50,270.
I would say, I think it's a lot of money, although I do see a lot of redevelopment opportunities or development opportunities within the city. I mean, it may be 50,000 now, and it's probably not gonna make us 50,000 in the next 3 or 4 years, but probably in 10 years, it's probably worth it. Is my only point. I mean, when I think about the redevelopment available along the 7th Street corridor and stuff, I do think in the long run, it would pay for itself. Between parks and roads and even city facilities could collect impact fees. But I will tell you that impact fees are no silver bullet. They're a pain in the butt to administer because somebody's got to track them. And yes, you can give them to the firehouse, but then you got to make sure the firehouse is using them for new services only. And all of it is a pain, and administratively, it's a pain. I agree. I do think it's worth it. But it's not the easiest thing to administer either. So.
Are there other companies that do this that can do it at a cheaper rate?
We have to get some additional quotes.
This company, they gave us a quote last year. I think it went up about $3,000-4,000. But they've worked.
The same company that county did, right? Yeah.
Originally, and then the second update for the county.
Yeah, they've done extensive work throughout the state with school districts, with counties, et cetera. It was in the last city council packet. Pass this down. Just an idea of some of the work that they've done.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in the head, but, do you remember how often do they have to be updated? Like to refigure, to show your math, to show that the numbers are still valid?
So, 2 things. One is the county probably went a decade before we updated ours because the numbers would only get bigger.
Right, and then nobody's gonna complain if they're
No.
not getting bigger.
So it took us probably a decade, and then even after a decade, Tischler Buys did not do the update. Another company did, but after they did their update, it probably took us another 2 or 3 years to get it through council. So now there's a new county ordinance that requires an update on the impact fees. I want to say it's every 3 years.
So if we did this sometime in the next year, by the time we get them on board and they do it, you said it would take a couple of months, I think. If we have no new development that qualifies for it for, say, 2 or 3 years, the fees might not be valid. Is that accurate?
Well, I think you could still charge the fees.
You
It's
could
just,
still
you're
charge
just not
the
going
fees.
to, you're just not updating.
Undercutting yourself
Yeah.
if you don't update.
But I do think them being in place, if that's what ends up being resulting in that, is better than not having them.
Well,
And you have to
getting
pick up that bill, as a
Something is
city.
better than.
Yeah.
Right.
Cause I'm worried, not worried, but I can see in years to come, development or redevelopment that would, pay this back. Obviously, that nobody's certain, but a flip side of that is we go in action and then we can't do it at that point, that's a
Right,
conversation.
because then you get into the thing, are they in the process
Yeah,
and then you pass it and it can't be applied back retroactively? So the idea of having them in place has validity.
So this might be like future councils saying, look how proactive they were.
So what
You know,
Council
not really us.
President had mentioned, and it's a good point, within this analysis that they provided, and I can recirculate it again if needed, but they talk about how whatever is broken out, in terms of literally to the decimal, as Council President Day mentioned last time, they also is baked in for future impact fee analysis. So there's a portion that can go toward the future redoing of it if and when.
Well, and I would guess that updating it shouldn't be as expensive as doing it from scratch in the first place.
The one place that is easy, and I failed to mention this, the one place that it is easy to use impact fees for is technology upgrades.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? It's easier for the fire service, easier for the county with the county facilities. So that's an
good,
easy
yeah.
hit.
Are there other companies that do this? Would it be possible to get at least one other bid?
I would have to do the research on that. I know Joe just mentioned there's another company the county used, so I would reach out to the
I
county.
could tell you that Tisler Buys is the best in the business. And I think when we had the other company do ours, I don't think we were as happy with them.
Oh,
But that's
okay.
just my opinion. Tisler Buys is the leader in impact fees in the country.
Well, yeah, sometimes you just get what you pay for. Going with low bid doesn't always get you the best result in the long run. Okay, so sounds like the consensus is we're going to put this in the new budget.
Any other vote, please?
Yeah, sure. Do we need a roll call or?
So you need a with motion and second.
I think we should talk about where it's at in the budget. So is it in this year's budget or it's in next year's budget?
Oh,
So I will tell you,
I like the,
I think it makes sense. We got that real estate transfer tax, you know what I mean? For development or transfer of development, I say, kind of makes sense to me to maybe earmark that money for it. But I was curious, are we attributing it to this budget or the next?
I like this year's budget just because then you're not talking about raising tax over this at all. And it's like, we have decided that this is something that is smart to do, but we have no idea. This is our first time, so we have no
Well,
idea what.
we
the
wouldn't have
results
to
of,
raise taxes to fund the $50,000 study. But
That would come out of our 1.8 unrestricted funds.
Exactly.
So we're gonna follow forward now. We're
Well,
at
yeah, they would affect-
1.75 or whatever.
Like the
but-
bottom line of 527 wouldn't change with this, like in that total, so.
yes.
The only, and the difference is so if the will of council is that it be spent this year, so it would be a motion to accept and approve the traffic impacts fee study as proposed and to fund it through FY 26 and the unrestricted funds. Because you don't have the money in your budget, so you have to not only authorize it, but you have to authorize where the money's coming from. If you are doing it in next year's budget, you would just authorize Anthony to include it. So either one works, but you just have to.
Do we have to repeat all
But
that?
in this year's budget, we can say it comes out of the excess realty transfer tax, I assume.
You wanna make a motion to?
I'll make a motion that we approve the impact fee study and that that it's done in FY 26 out of the excess real estate transfer tax. So
Okay.
Okay, and you wanted a roll call, I believe, so is that right?
It's will of council.
Okay, well, I think we've reached a consensus, but we've had a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion is adopted.
So we'll include that on our budget report. We'll add a budget amendment, right? To allocate these funds. For this, right?
However you show it,
Yeah,
you're just taking it from funding source.
Right.
Reduce revenue,
Okay,
increased expense of special.
No,
Yeah.
What do we need to approve?
What,
Oh.
It's already.
I just wanted to make sure that we don't have to do it again.
So, there's nothing left on the, agenda, but I just wanna talk about next steps. Are you prepared for me to finalize the budget numbers for the upcoming council meeting on June 9th, or do you wanna have another budget meeting? Discuss additional options for the budget, for the taxes? What is your will?
You don't see any significant changes in the numbers we see now, then, right?
No, unless we just have that outstanding consideration of whether or not we're going to, keep all that bond bill funds in, or if we take them out.
Well, that's
Or-
the main reason I like option 3, because it accounts for bond bill money, so if we do get it and don't end up spending, repurposing for other things, at least we're not including it as something we tax, as part of property tax increase. And I don't know what that total is, but that's kind of how I see that. I don't know, special projects and grants part that has, I don't know, 250,000 or something.
But, so option 3 means we do not include the things we require?
No, they're included, but they're included in,
Right.
money that we
There
put
was no
for
rush
unrestricted, like,
say.
if unrestricted fund would cover
Right,
the bond bill stuff if we were to receive that, so that at least we're not raising tax. If we do receive it but don't spend it, then we're like,
so I
Extra
think
revenue.
we're sort of saying that we'll include the full cost of the items we've applied for bond bill money to cover.
yes,
For whatever we get in bond bill money, probably not all we've asked for, but
Right.
some probably,
Right.
then we'll take the remaining funds and reapply them probably to street work.
Right.
Unless we get bond bill money for street work.
Right, because to be clear, nothing in the budget is for bond bill requests for street work.
Right.
It's just for other special projects.
So in other words, if at this point, as the budget is currently stands,
Mhm.
if we don't get any bond bill money for street repairs, the only money we have for street repairs is what we have in
Municipal
municipal street aid, which is not enough to do a whole lot.
plus capital funded would be about 2 million once funded with excess stuff and what's already in there. So just, that's something, but I'm saying like that would be at the disposal of the council for the next fiscal year to discuss, right? Like,
Oh, to
Like-
utilize the capital.
yeah, like that's the
Yeah.
purpose, right? Like, I mean,
But we also will, if for whatever extent the bond bill money gives us excess in the budget, then we can consider reallocating that.
no, I'm just saying, in addition to that, there's that fund as well.
There's also that.
Yeah, just.
Okay, anything else?
So June 9th, or do we want an action meeting?
June 9th.
Is that a regular meeting?
June 9th is next regular.
Yes,
meeting.
please.
Yeah, I think we've pretty well hashed out everything.
And you're gonna follow up though on the Buttonwood
Yes, I will.
request. That's the only
Yeah.
thing I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
they
the
don't
only
have to
answer
have an
they
answer
have.
tomorrow. If not.
Right, because if that gets cut in half, even that's part of the money towards this $50,000 or whatever.
So you will include that, whatever, option 3 with finalized Buttonwood in that ordinance with percentage increases that are reflective of that next time we see it. Is
Right,
that pretty much?
of the actual numbers.
Yeah,
What
so
we
we'll have a
expect.
public hearing for that ordinance.
So then we have to have a public hearing for the one on the vacant property too. So we can have them together, I guess,
Yes.
like we usually have done before.
I have one other thing just to
So that's
mention.
6:30 then?
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think this has been a tremendously valuable conversation that we had in meeting today. I think we also need to try to reach out to some of these other communities in regards to some of their playgrounds and outdoor spaces to see what type of new amenities and things they may want. We don't want anyone out in Van Dyke or other places to feel like, hey, what about us? So.
well, I think
it's-
the playground committee now, Encore, that was their intent, was to move on to the other communities once the Battery Park playground was complete. The problem they've run into is they don't want to just go in and impose their will on the community, and they haven't found anyone from the communities to join them and put in their input. So, but I don't think it was for lack of their trying.
I think they were also waiting to finalize phase 2 because they were
Right.
focusing efforts on
Yeah,
that.
so then they have more time, but for whatever contacts any of us have in these other areas where the playgrounds are, we need to encourage them to find a neighbor who's willing to work on this, because We don't want to just come in and say, well, we think you need X, Y, and Z. We want to know what you think you need.
Yes.
Okay, anything else? Public comments?
First, I'd like to ask for an extra 2 minutes. I've waited 2 hours, 45 minutes.
Sorry, 3 minutes.
All right. Just to let you know, once again, I'll preface what I'm saying. This and every meeting is viewed by WPHT in Philly and WDEL. We are getting a legal team, just so you know. So if 60,000 or 120,000 is too much, it's gonna boost, it's gonna jump. This is the most inadequate council I've seen in my 60 years. But I do want to thank Mr. Day for voting in favor of the fee, because it was necessary. I feel as far as when the agendas are posted, every agenda item should have a link to that issue, whether it's a house, the information should be posted right there with a link. If it is not linked to something, I feel it should be taken off that night's agenda, because every single resident is entitled to view what is coming up before council. And that is legally responsible. So I strongly request that you guys review that. Newcastle Matters, I was notified, River Edge, they've called us back. I sit on a committee for the residents. So when you're talking about the impact study, perfect timing to bring that up, because that is in the pipeline. And I'd say within 2 years. Street repair. Like Mr. Day said, there are a lot of streets that need repair, and they should be given consideration. A budget is just that. It's a recommendation, but last year, it's like deja vu. Same subjects. Let's wait and discuss it over the winter, or let's take notes, or let's set something up. Here we are another year, same subjects come up and nothing done. As far as the dog park, did I read that $100,000 is being requested for it?
No?
Okay. Just asking. Tax increase. It's interesting because last year was proposed at 100%, 110%, you split it up. So again, it's just taxation, and you're not taking stuff out of the budget.
You mentioned Mark, the applications that you want to submit next year would be 100,000.
No.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But we didn't put the 100, we didn't in this budget.
No, I've heard it like we're asking for it, but not,
Right. We don't get the LRPT grant.
yeah. I do like the every agenda be linked to, like, if residents to go.
You're still in the meeting, so you just need a motion.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second,
Is that all in favor?
I.
It's adjourned. It's a discussion.
But it's a packet, so like it's 80 pages.
The
that
packet
resident
is
is-
put out.
I know, I'm saying a resident resolution that didn't, like an accessory dwelling unit. They have to then search for their resolution.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I said that's a great.
Yeah, yeah.
So that- It's not much, because we always have public comments about like one